You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Wow, we're close to October. And, you know, October is my favorite month because I'm an October Libra. So, you know, it's only right. It's only right that this is my month. This is my favorite month of the year. This is my favorite time of the year. I am less than 2 weeks away from turning 33, which I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm really feeling good. Like I just have no reason to complain. I think lately people always ask me like, how you doing? I'm doing good. I can't complain. And I really mean that shit. Like I really mean it. Like I really can't complain. There's just, when I'm looking at what's going on in the world and society, every time I have a moment where I'm a little, frustrated or whatever the case could be, I just like, this is such a first world problem. This is such an issue that whatever I'm annoyed about or irked about, it's something that resolves itself by the end of the day. Like, I love the fact that a lot of the problems that I might be irked about or annoyed about resolves itself in a very fast pace. Like, I don't really stress or do that to myself because I realize how fortunate I am in a larger scheme of things. And a lot of you all that listen to my podcast, it could be times that's hard. But if you're in a position where you can listen to my podcast and you got a roof over your head and you're working and you're making some money and you eating, I know it may not always be what you want, but damn it, it's fortunate. Gratitude has been something that I've been really big on. Even with some of my friends and people in my network, a lot of times folks will just stress out and be annoyed with certain things. And I have to just tell people, like, for me, maybe some of my advice to success is that I have always focused on, having gratitude. And let me be very clear. I'm not the person that's like Mr. Positive vibes only. Like, I don't believe in that. If there's something you don't like and something that's pissing you off, by all means, let it be clear. But I never get into self-deprecation. I think that's the big thing for me, is that I can be pissed off about something. I cannot like something. But one thing I won't do, I won't shit on myself. I will not. Literally, don't do that in real life. But don't get so caught up where you start to really just be self-deprecating. Try to measure ways in which you can express a thing that makes you upset without taking it so personal and internalizing it where it puts you in a very bad spot. Because what I've noticed in certain situations, whether it's in people that I'm communicating with or working with or whatever, is that those feelings of self-deprecation and internalized issues and hurt or whatever that can sometimes be self-inflicted, this issue can resolve itself, but that damage, that hurt, that harm that you put on yourself, that lingers. And so it's very important that whenever there is issues going on, don't be so quick to speak negativity into yourself. Don't be so quick to shit on yourself and to do that, because when the issue's resolved, right? Whenever that little thing you was flipping out about is done, a lot of that animosity that you felt or whatever, that doesn't go away. And so for me, before I begin to feel any type of way, I'm be very clear to really think about the situation, unpack the situation and go, okay, what am I mad at and why? Is this really my fault? Am I really the person that should be taking in all of this? Sometimes in situations out of your control, it really is out of your control. And it's important to recognize those distinctions because, yeah, that's important. But speaking of some housekeeping, so last week, first of all, I just love the fact that I am fortunate enough to have a podcast where I can be asleep. Because, I got to be real with you all. Because I work for myself, I don't get up until like 10 a.m. most mornings. Sometimes I might be a little early. Now, I am a little night owl. I ain't going to hold you. Some of y'all be like, you still up at this time of night? Sometimes I am up a little late sometimes. But that's not for you all. That's because I like to do emails. My scheduling, my sleep schedule is very interesting. I don't talk about it too much, but because I work for myself, and I don't have a traditional clock in situation, I measure my sleep. Like, so I have a rule. I will get 8 hours of sleep or more a day, period. But I always tell people, because of my schedule, my 8 hours is very different. So my husband sleeps a little bit earlier because he gets up, he works, in the day for city council. So he's in city hall and he likes to get up and run in the morning and jog and all that. His situation is very different from mine when it comes to how we get up in the morning, everything like that. But for me, I will go to bed at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And some of you are like, oh my God, that's too late. But I also get up at like 10 a.m., 9 a.m. So if you're measuring my late night sleeping to yours, the question becomes, what time do you get up in the morning? And a lot of people get up, well, I don't even know, 8 a.m., 7 a.m., which means that if you want to get the 8 hours sleep, you're going to bed around 10, 11 o'clock. For me, my situation is a little different. I go to bed around 1 a.m., 2 a.m., but I get up around 10 a.m., in the morning. I'm very big on that. I'm very big on, I'm not looking at emails. I'm not sending an email until after 10 a.m. Even though I know some people work and start work at 9 a.m., I just feel like mentally people need to warm up, people need to get whatever going. So that is my own routine. But let me tell you what I'm doing late at night. I am sending emails that I have scheduled to go out. I don't send emails late at night to people I don't respect. I respect people. I try not to send emails past 5 p.m. Now, sometimes if it's an organization, it's my, somebody I know very closely, I'll read an email, respond to email after that. But anybody, I respect folks. I'm very professional, very demure, very all of the things, okay? I don't send emails after 5 p.m. unless it's something within my organization, or my board, or my team. But I try any professional stuff, I don't. If it's past 5 o'clock, I'm scheduling that email to go out at 10 a.m. or after 10 a.m. That's my personal rule book. You all be asking me how I get it done. This is some of my own best practices. I will schedule emails. I am the scheduled email king. I'm all about scheduling emails because I don't want to forget things. I even schedule text messages. Yes, there is a way on Android. I don't know what the iPhone is doing, but I even schedule text messages. So I will schedule happy birthday texts. I will schedule an email to my barber, my nail technician, my masseuse, all of my people. I will have emails scheduled in advance so I don't forget. So I will be like, good morning, so-and-so. I want to schedule an appointment for blah, 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 blah. That email was scheduled, so I will make sure it's on track with what I got going on. So if there is a method to my madness, there is, I used to tell people, oh, I just do this. But I realize a lot of things that I do is not necessarily something that everyone is doing. So if I can just drop, tips where I can, because common sense isn't always common. I can't assume, because I'll make an ass out of you and me. Get it? Assume, ass, you, me, assume. So I don't like to assume. But it's really important to me to tell that. But I say all this to say, last week, because I digress, last week, a lot of you all emailed me and messaged me, sent fan mail, DM me on Instagram, and was like, you only did 1 hour? What am I going to do? Listen, I hope at this point you all went back and listened to last week's episode, which was episode 11 of season 7, 7-11. It was a nearly 3-hour episode. Something happened, I think, when I transmit the file where a part of it cut off, and I didn't know that when it went through the processor, but I quickly replaced the audio file. So if you only heard an hour of last week's podcast and it cut off, it's okay. We fixed it. There is the full episode. A lot of you all went back and listened. I saw the downloads. So I think everybody then got a chance to listen to the full episode. But if you were someone who sent me fan mail and said, oh my goodness, what I'm going to do, I'm missing my fix, it was only an hour, you can go back if you haven't already, and the rest of the 2 hours is there. The whole episode is fully there. This week's episode is fully there. You're going to get all your hours. I will never give you all a 1 hour general episode of Ernestly Speaking. There is too much to talk about, especially last week. I mean, Diddy was indicted last week. How could we not? And then this week we had another indictment. So you're going to get a full-fledged episode. Now, the only time I do like a 1 hour episode, You already know it is a special edition episode. But outside of that, I don't do 1 hour episodes. You all are going to work. You all are listening to me throughout the week. There's just too much to talk about for me to give you 1 week. That's blasphemous. And you all were just like, what am I going to do? This episode is short. Exactly. And to all the people in these streets that used to talk your shit seasons ago, talking about nobody want to hear a 2 hour, 3 hour episode, the fuck they do. Maybe they don't want to listen to you. They do over here because it's me. You know, some people can do that. Okay? Some people got it, some people don't. Okay? Some people will tell people, you know, nobody, listen, the sky is the limit. Okay? I can give you all a full-fledged, long-ass episode each week, and none of you all complaining. You complained last week. So when I got all of you all messaging me about that 1 hour, I have used that. So when I tell my sponsors and the people and the different folks that say, they used to come to me and say, you know, is people really listening from beginning to end? Yes, you all are. You may not listen in one setting. Some of y'all do. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. But you are listening to the full episode. And I don't even understand why people are even, I don't know who these people are that think that these little, listen, this is not NPR. This ain't Texas. This is not NPR. This is not these little New York Times little shows. No shade to them. But, you know, they got to do all that little cutesy editing. We don't do all that editing and censorship over here. You're going to get the full Monty because that's what people want to listen to. Listen, I know it's a conversation. When you're listening to me, it's like I'm talking to you because I am talking to you. It's me and you. Okay, it's me and you. Some of you all listen to with your husbands, your booze in the car. I love it. Shout out to all of y'all. Y'all know who y'all are. This is a conversation. And so I just feel like when I see some of these traditional media outlets creating these podcasts like their radio shows, that's not what podcast, there's a difference. And it annoys me because they try to really, the radio people try to get into the podcast world and try to do it like that. Nobody want to hear a 1 hour radio show. Well, a 2 hour, a 3 hour radio show. That might be boring. But somebody that's sitting, you know, next to you in your head, I'm over here having me a little sip. You want to have somebody that can hold a conversation and not talk at you, but talk to you. There's a big difference. And sometimes I feel like a lot of my fellow journalists that want to do podcasts, they really don't understand what makes this format very different. As someone who hosts a weekly radio show for WRD Radio, you know, 96.1, 900 AM, progressive black talk media, WRD Radio, right? I do City Council Live every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's a certain type of broadcasting format for that show that is nothing like Ernestly Speaking, but it works very differently because of the format, right? But podcasting is different. And, you know, there's a lot of these hoteps and no-teps and incels that go out here and sit up here and pontificate and talk about black women and talk down on queer folk and all that. And they get to have their listeners. So why can't I have a podcast that uplifts my community and the communities and underrepresented groups that I care about, right? I should be able to have a mic and do that. So I love the fact that I can have that kind of format, but do it in a very nuanced way that's a lot better than a lot of the trash dudes out here that speak the same talking points. You know, do I want to go there right now? Yeah, I want to go there right now because my podcast got a nomination, right, for, you know, black, you know, best black news in politics show, right? There's a lot of these podcasts. I'm going to throw a little shade. I'm not going to name names. But they out here giving people financial advice. They want to weigh in on sports. All these washed up rappers and dudes out here that made a little money doing some Forex shit. And now they want to give people ways to earn their leisure. And listen, listen, you know, every trash can needs a lid. So there's always an audience that want to listen to that kind of stuff and buy into it. Fine. But when I decided, you know, at the end of 2020 to do this podcast, I promised myself this was not going to be the same type of podcast where a black man gets on a mic and talk about something I know about. On this show, I research. I give you all facts. I debunk myths. I don't carry the water of Trumpers. I don't put out misinformation and disinformation. The goal here is to inform and empower. That is what we do on this podcast. And we make people laugh, right? I love making you all laugh. I love making you all think. But this has to be insightful, right? And there's just too many garbage ass podcasts by washed up rappers that are out here pump it up, all of that. And it's interesting because they get there and then they bring the one woman, right? They have the one black woman in the mix that has to be the voice of reason for all the idiots that are right there perpetuating the same misinformation and junk. At some point, we got to take barbershop talk off the radio and off the podcasts, right? And give people something more insightful and thoughtful. So that is what Earnestly Speaking is about. And I'm happy that for over 150 plus episodes, you all have been rocking with me for all these hours and all these years. And I'm grateful for you all. And I'm not charging a subscription to get the truth, because the truth should be free, because like they always say, let the truth set you free, and let this show do as well. So I wanted to just say that. This weekend was really lit. As you all know, I was in DC. I'm on the national board of the Society of Professional Journalists Foundation, SPJ. And I have been a loyal board member for the past year. You all followed my journey to getting on this board, and it's been an honor. We were in DC, the National Press Club, which is fabulous. I haven't been in like years since I won my first one of my first big national awards a couple years ago. I won the SPJ Sigma Delta Chi Award for my reporting for a piece at Philadelphia Magazine called Dining While Black, which, as you know, was the litmus and inspiration behind why I decided to eventually become the editor of Eater Philly. So this is all full circle in its own way. But I really enjoyed the conversations that I had. There's a new president of the Society of Professional Journalists that is going to be taking rank starting in October. Her name is Emily Block, and she is actually a reporter at the Philadelphia Inquirer. But she's not one of those problematic Inquirer people. She's a very nice fellow millennial, and she's doing some really great work. And it's really great to connect with her and continue to do big business, as I like to say now, big business. So it was a pleasure. Also, when I went to DC, I made a really great stop at first of all, let me back up real quick about DC. So first of all, we talked about Keith Lee not knowing anything about restaurants in DC. He didn't know what he was talking about. But can I just say, as somebody it's a lot going on over here in this Maryland DMV area. My bestie, Dr. Parks, and Joe, her fiance, they've moved to Baltimore. They moved to Baltimore. They left our lovely abode. We lived in the same building, and they're now in Baltimore, B-more. And they had their final move this weekend. And we're going to see each other in Baltimore. Listen, when I go to Baltimore, listen, okay? I can hear Joe right now. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not going to do it. But I'm just saying that, I'm going to come down to Baltimore, catch me an Atlas restaurant or two. I'm going to try to make my way over there, okay? Not just for crab cakes, but, they got a nice spot they're staying at over there around the harbor. And I'll make some visits to go see them. But clearly they need to be, it's going to be funny because I feel like there's going to be more trips to Philadelphia because, come on, it's Philly. Don't do that. I know, I'm not going to do it. But I'm just saying, it's going to be fun. But I'm going to make some time to go to Baltimore, make plans to check it out. But nonetheless, they are now there. But they'll see me again very, very soon because I have a birthday coming up. But one of my big little complaints, not even complaints, but what I will say about Baltimore. So DC. I went to a place called King Street Oyster Bar. Very nice spot. Lots of black people were in there, so it must have been popping. It was a gathering with the SPJ board. We went there. We had all the appetizers. We had a good little spread. We also had dinner at the National Press Club, which was also nice as well. But we went here. Let me say this, okay? I sometimes give Philly a hard time. But I got a cocktail at this spot. The cocktail was $16. Just want to make that note. It was $16. They charged an automatic service charge. The drink was $21 and I think 60 cents. What y'all doing over there in DC? Now the cocktail was cute, but she wasn't anything special. It was some fruity little drink in a coupe glass. It wasn't anything major. But what we doing over here, DC? Like a brother is going to a regular bar. Like we ain't at a fancy over the top spot. And we out here charging people $21 for a cocktail. And then they had a happy hour. And the happy hour, I missed the happy hour, but the happy hour was selling some drinks on the menu for $9. $9 is a happy hour drink at a regular bar. Like this ain't a hotel restaurant. This is not like a Mark Vetri or anything like that. This is not even a fancy restaurant. This was not that, y'all. This is look up. And some of my folks that listen to my podcast, Alana, my girls, how y'all doing over there in DC, you DMV girls. But you all didn't tell me that these drinks were ridiculously high like this. Now I'm a boss. I don't mind. But damn. $21 for a cocktail at a regular ass bar? I see why people, listen, I was downtown, but I see why people be looking at DCD. I didn't even look at the rent. I always used to, back in the days, to make a joke, and I used to say that if I did not live in Philly, I would live in DC. Because, I spent a summer in DC. I spent a summer in Foggy Bottom. But see, I had a really nice internship. I was getting paid some really top dollar money. So the money was really good. Okay, let me just say that. We ain't gonna talk about where I interned at, but let's just say it was cute. The money was money. I had a nice little DC internship. I ain't gonna complain. I was on the Potomac. It was big business over there in DC. That was in 2012. That was Obama's reelection. Politics in DC. I was staying at what was I staying? I was staying in the Dakota in George W., right across the street from the White House. I could see the White House out of my window. Like it was lit over there. But listen, I don't remember. Maybe see, let me back up. The reason why I don't remember those drinks, because that was the summer of 2012. I was born on October 12th, 1991. So technically, y'all, I was 20 years old. So that's why I don't remember how much the drinks cost. Now, that didn't mean I wasn't drinking, because, I was cute and I was legal, and I was going on some cute little dates back in the day, Foggy Bottom. I wasn't a Foggy Bottom, no pun intended. But I was out there, having a good time, and I went on some dates and stuff, and I wasn't paying for drinks and everything. But now I understand why those guys was like, they take me on a date and say, want to go upstairs. Oh, because you didn't really spend, you must have really liked me, because you was spending $20 for a goddamn cocktail. My goodness, that was a whole damn meal. I thought it was crazy. My thing is, how the food costs less than the drinks? DC making money off them drinks. Dr. Parks didn't tell me all that. Okay, that's why she gonna miss Philly, because I don't know how she gonna make. I don't know what Baltimore. I don't really remember Baltimore prices like that. I think they were reasonable, I guess. But the DC, y'all got that. Y'all and y'all little brunches. What y'all spending $20 for fucking mimosas? Y'all got that. Y'all got it. And no BYOBs? Blasphemy. But back in the day, I thought that if I didn't live in Philly, if I wanted to move and I wanted to stay on the East Coast, I thought my next city would be DC. I'm here to tell you all that is very unlikely, because no. But it is a pretty city. I do like how it looked downtown. It is very chill and clean and calm. I will give it that. But I think Philly done spoiled me. I don't see it for DC. I'll take Philly for 500. Alex Trebek, R.I.P. to a legend. R.I.P. to Maggie Smith. Okay, my goodness, just a moment for the Queen. I just had to do that because Maggie Smith. We're just losing so many legends right now, and we're losing some innocent people too. Right? We're seeing the death penalty do some horrible things to some innocent people. So I can't. I'll be remiss if I don't even mention that. I'm not going to go too much into it on this podcast episode, because I try to keep a balance, because the news out here, Marcellus, that's just elections matter. That man could have been alive. Marcellus Williams could have been alive if we had a Supreme Court that was majority Democrat. Okay? 6-3. 6 being conservatives that decided not to pause that execution, not to revisit that trial. That man was innocent and he was killed. and the Supreme Court could have did something. Local, a previous governor in St. Louis in Missouri, right? In Missouri, decided to do more investigations. This governor decided to continue this. This is disgusting. It's an injustice. And it's just for those people that continue, I got to take a moment here. For a lot of these progressives that do this whining, some of you all, not all, because I consider myself a pragmatic progressive, but to a lot of progressives that do this whole talk about elections and voting and yada, 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 let me back y'all up real quick. You all will sit up and spend the summer talking about how elections are this, elections are that, and that you don't see a reason how elections can impact lives, and you don't see how lives can be saved, and that it's the same political machine. That's what you all say. And then you'll turn around, and when somebody innocent like Marcellus Williams dies, right, that gets killed unfairly from the system, right? Then you all will say no justice, no peace. You will do protests, you will do marches, you will do all these things. Well, guess what? You know that the Supreme Court is appointed, because Supreme Court justices are appointed by who? The President of the United States. And if, the emails in Hillary, but if Hillary was president, Hillary would have had the opportunity to appoint 3 Democratic Supreme Court justices, and we would have had a 6-3 majority. Hell, actually, no, with Biden, we would have probably had 7 Supreme Court justices that were Democrat, and we would have been able to set a lot of things, move a lot of things forward. Okay, Roe v. Wade would have not been axed right now, because when Trump, in one term, Trump was able to appoint 3 Republican Supreme Court justices. 3. And now only Biden got to do 1, Ketanji Jackson Brown, because everybody else is, doing what they're doing. That has impacted everybody. Affirmative action got gutted because of that. Roe v. Wade. And now decisions like this. Student loans. The Supreme Court, right, can't touch student loans because why? Because of this. So when you all sit up here and talk about why do we need to vote, why does voting matter? Because all these issues that you're trying to protest about could have been resolved if we had a president that could have appointed the right Supreme Court justices. I know people are mad about certain issues. I know that politicians or whatever, but we know the political system is not perfect. But we also cannot lie and be intellectually dishonest and act like both sides are the fucking same. Because they're not. So I just want people to really understand that we are now less than 40 days away from the election. I mean, if you're listening to this episode on October 1st, next month, November 5th, is election day. We're down to the trenches. I'm somewhere sitting here like y'all know in politics during during a presidential year, we call it the October surprise. What will be the October surprise? It's time to take some real serious introspection. I'm just saying, time to get serious. As a great man once said, it's a wicked world we live in. It's an evil world we live in, he said. It's an evil world we live in. Y'all need to wake up. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I didn't want to go into that diatribe, but I did. But I say all this to say, DC, get your drink prices together. But there was good news. In DC, I got a chance to go to a kitchen and bar right in DC, in Foggy Bottom, actually. I love Ellen Yin. Ellen Yin is an incredible James Beard Award-winning restaurateur in Philadelphia based. But she's now expanding her brand. She's expanding her vision. And now there's an A Kitchen DC. Now, I want to be very clear. I did a compare and contrast. And I want to say this. The food is incredible in both locations. A lot of the menu items at the A Kitchen, A Bar that's in Rittenhouse in Philly, there are a lot of those same recipes, right? The executive chef is Eli Cope. He is the same executive chef at the A Bar, A Kitchen that's in Rittenhouse in this DC location. There is a chef de cuisine. His name is George M, I call him. His last name, um, he used to be the big executive chef that was at Fork, which is also owned by Ellen Yen. She owns Fork, High Street Provisions, A Kitchen, all of that. She owns that. That's a part of the High Street Hospitality Group. So he was the chef at Fork. He has now moved to DC this past month, and he is now the big chef over there. So Ellen Yen has kept a lot of her culinary intellectual talent from Philly there. The bartender at the A bar, which is connected to the AKA hotel that is in that DC Foggy Bottom area. Now there's multiple AKAs all across the US, but also in DC. But this is the one that's over there in 1 Washington Avenue, I believe. That is the one. That is the one where she is doing her big one over there. Big business. So I want to make sure that you go to the right location. That menu is phenomenal. Now, what is different about the venue? It's very spacious there. They really embody the AKA minimalist brand. Now, for those who've gone to A Kitchen, A Bar in Rittenhouse, y'all know that place is very packed. Like Philly loves a packed like sardines restaurant, right? We love everybody shoulder to shoulder, and it's a lot of business. But this location is very spaced out. It just felt calm. Like I felt a sense of calmness. And I just loved the way I went in there and I could breathe, the seating, the color, the lighting, it flows. And it very much so matches the energy of the AKA experience in general. And I've gone to several AKA. I've stayed at the AKA in Rittenhouse in University City. It's one of my favorite hotels in Philadelphia in general because it's so modern and very, it just feels state of the art. It's very fly. I love level 28 at the University City location. I love the high tops. I love everything about it. That A Kitchen, A Bar that is in Foggy Bottom is just that. It is a great menu, great vibe, a very diverse team that are very professional and very nice and friendly. I really loved it there. So I just want to give props. Other things. Also want to throw shout out to Albi in DC. Very great restaurant, Palestinian owned. The food there is stellar. And also Yellow. For those who in DC, listen, I did my research. Yellow is cute little spot. Was really feeling that. If I was to take some things back to Philly, some of those restaurants would be what I would take. Now, see, I come from old school DC. Like I said, back in the 2010s, early 2010s, when we used to go to founding farmers for brunch in Foggy Bottom. And we used to, love to get a good salad for lunch at Chopped. And we used to get Georgetown cupcakes every Friday in the office where I was at. And we used to love a sweet green. And we used to go to Whole Foods, spending money we didn't have no business spending on groceries that we didn't have no business spending on. And we used to avoid Trader Joe's. Well, some people did like Trader Joe's, but I was the Whole Foods girl in Foggy Bottom. The other folks like the little Trader Joe's. I come from a different era is what I'm saying. We are not the same. But I remember the DC, that was the DC I know. Okay, I used to go to the Madison, I think the Hamilton. I used to go to the Hamilton, which is still open, still fabulous. That was my era, okay? The Diplomat, Steven Starr's Diplomat. And let me tell you about the Diplomat. Now, let me put y'all on some game, my Philly people. Some of y'all might know this already. And you DC people who don't know this, let me tell you a little secret. The Diplomat is basically Park by a different name. Baby, I looked at that menu. I said, this is Park. They just changed the name, honey. The Diplomat, whatever they're going to call it, Diplomat in DC by Steven Starr is basically Park. It's literally the same situation. Just wanted to say that. I took my ass over there thinking that I was going to have another Steven Starr experience, which I don't mind. Now, he does have pastis, and pastis is different from Park and Diplomat. But let me tell you, DC people, Steven Starr is not doing, he's doing his big one here in DC, but if you really want to understand Steven Starr, I know he's got places in New York, you got to go to Philly. You got to go to Philly and have the Steven Starr experience in Philly because I feel like his restaurants in DC are cute, but I feel like y'all don't really understand the essence of Steven Starr until you go to the Philadelphia restaurants. Just saying. And I want to just also settle the score. No shade, but Park is better than Diplomat. Just on vibes. Food is still good. Food is good both places. But I feel like the vibe at Park just does more for me than what Diplomat did. And there's no shade because also DC is just a very interesting city in general. So I don't know. I don't know if I can put it on the restaurateur or just you DC folks. I don't know. Y'all know. Y'all know because y'all come to Philly, y'all get real excited. Just gonna say that. Okay, enough DC shade. I went to a lovely wedding. Mr. Johnson and I went to a lovely wedding in Flower Town. Amber, which one of his groom's people, because I can't say groomsmen, she's a woman. Groom's people, more gender neutral language, in our wedding, and she got married to her lovely wife Liz, who came to our wedding. We're about to be on our third year anniversary. Time flies. But I first met her during our wedding weekend, and that was 3 years ago. They were just started dating that year. That was 2021. And I got the opportunity to meet her and everything, but she's very sweet. And I'll tell this fun little story, only for this podcast. But when we were planning our wedding in 2020, Amber was dating another girl. And I knew that girl for many years when they were dating, and she was sweet, all the things. They ended up breaking up during the pandemic. And, I don't want to say I was a bridezilla or groomzilla, whatever, but I was very particular about my list. And I was really big on, like, I didn't let everyone have plus ones because the wedding party got to bring plus ones. But a lot of my guests, unless I knew, we knew both the spouse and them, we really wanted to tailor the list down because we wanted to maximize as many of our family and friends we can have as possible. And I think sometimes when you do a wedding, you say 200 people, in our minds, we were like, we really want to have 200 people we know. And so we really was not trying to be like, only 100 people, because then Mr. Johnson and I was going to have to figure out 50 people on both sides and figure out how to split that. The beautiful thing is a lot of people that came to our wedding were mutual friends and people we knew. So it wasn't really hard to figure out who was coming and whatnot. But when we was very intentional on not having extreme plus ones because we really wanted to have it be a vibe. The beautiful thing is that I would say 80% of our entire crowd of people that went to our wedding did not bring plus ones. But here's a fun fact. All of them knew multiple people at the wedding. So it wasn't like it was strange because a lot of times when people go to weddings, they want a plus one because they don't know anybody else. A lot of people that was at our wedding are mutual friends of ours. We went to school with them. Some of them we grew up together with. These are people that have hung out with us and have hung out with other friends and went to our birthday parties. So nobody was like completely like, I don't know anybody. I'm going to feel awkward because normally people bring plus ones to weddings because they don't want to feel like they're just floating around. This was like a family reunion. This felt like a family. Our wedding felt like a family reunion. And what I really liked about Amber Liz's wedding was that it felt that same way. Like there was there were many people that I recognized in her circle in years. We hosted our their wedding shower in our building over the summer, so I got to meet both of their family members and stuff. So it was a very lovely gathering. It was so diverse. It was so cool. And those are the type of weddings that I really love. But back to the situation at hand in 2021, she says, I met this new girl and I was like looking at Mr. Johnson. I was like, we gonna, what was this better be, he's like, oh, well, it's the wedding party. I said, okay, they better get married. I remember I was like, this better be the one. This better be the one for her because I'm not trying to waste the damn wedding seat. Well, 3 years later, here they are getting married. So you speak it into existence and it happened. So it was a lovely wedding. It was very beautiful. And I was happy to go. We don't really go to that many weddings, but when we do, we have a good time. It was a good old black time. It was a good old wedding. It was beautiful to see them in love. And it's interesting. I've gone to a lot, I've only, like a lot of my weddings, I have to say, I think I'm at the point where I've went to as many queer weddings as I've gone cishet weddings. And it's funny because a lot of my friends get a wedding. Dr. Parks and Joe, they're getting married. Abel getting married. Like, Katrina had already got married right after us. Like all of my friends, they tying a knot. It's just, look, my bestie Jamarcus, child. he is single and it looked like he just liked to mingle. And that's okay because you know what? I always say to people that's single, my friends, what I love about my friends that are single, the ones that are single, they like, look, when it comes, it comes. They're not trying to force it. They're not trying to really go out here and be thirsting and stuff because these are people that have been in relationships before. So when you've been in a long-term relationship, you dealt with the shits and things, you also don't want to go back in a situation not fully aware of what you're walking into. So I always tell people, don't always force it on people. People like an organic, natural experience. And it's not a question of when people ask, why are you single? It's not like, don't say that like as if it's something wrong. Some people just really are just like, look, I'm just really just trying to get my life together. I'm really just trying to take some time to know me and get connected with me. Because sometimes some relationships, if they're not healthy, will drain a person, take a lot out of a person. And so some people want to, find themselves and be to themselves and just rekindle. So I've always been the mindset that, marriage is not an immediate, response or knee-jerk reaction. Getting into a relationship after getting out of another relationship is not always the smart thing. I took some time. Some people laugh, but it was like about, I think after my breakup with the previous person I dated, I think I had like maybe a 6 to 9 month sabbatical where I didn't date anybody. Some people say, child, that wasn't that long. In college years, that was long. But I had a nice sabbatical where I just was not looking. I just was really to myself, and I just was really just hanging out with my friends and just really relaxing doing me, And then, Mr. Johnson came in the most unexpected place, the most unexpected time. And it just hit. And even then, it wasn't like I want to be in a relationship with this person. I really, really did have a big crush on him. I definitely liked him. I mean, from the moment I met him, I was like, ooh, he's different. But it wasn't like I was trying to force it. But at the same time, I wasn't, I was in a space at that point that I was just open to new experiences. And you have to be in a space if you have a breakup, you get out of a relationship, you're ready when you're in a space where you can say, look, I'm in a space emotionally where I am open to explore and take some time to get to know a person. Sometimes for some people that might take, for me, not 6 to 9 months. Some people it might take a year or maybe a couple years, depending on the situation, before a person feels like they want to get back out there. So I always tell people, you know yourself, you know your journey, you don't got to rush it. But also too, don't be out here putting people in these situationships, these little promise rings. Let me be quiet. But people be out here just getting in these situations and I'm just like, listen, don't waste your time either. So, I just want to put that there. Now, back to Philly. So I was in Flowertown, which is outside of Philly, about 30 minutes away from Philly. That's where they had their wedding. It was a lovely country club. It was a really wonderful experience. And just this weekend, fall weddings, we're all in fall. We're falling in love this fall. Now, in Philly, I had some couple of cool moments. I went to Vernick Fish and got to catch up with my good pal, Chef Greg Vernick, which, listen, anything that Greg Vernick has and owns in Philly, I have ate and I have loved. Vernick Food and Drink, one of my all-time favorite restaurants, and definitely a romantic date night and great time that I have had many times with Mr. Johnson. He's taken me out there a couple of times. Love Vernick Coffee Bar. I'm obsessed with Vernick Coffee Bar. If anybody ever wants to take me out to lunch, take me to Vernick Coffee and Bar and I'll say yes immediately. I will cancel plans with someone just to go to lunch with you there. Love Vernick Coffee Bar. That is like one of my favorite lunch spots next to A Bar and A Kitchen. I really do love that place. And I love the Love in Rittenhouse. Love the Love. The Love is one of my favorite lunch. There are spots where, look, dinner there is great too. Well, Vernick doesn't do dinner, but there are some places where lunch there is incredible. And so some of my top lunch spots I love to go to, I love A Kitchen, A Bar. Love A Kitchen for lunch. Great lunch. I love the Love. The Love is just another incredible lunch spot. And Vernick Coffee Bar and the Comcast Technology Center. Stellar. Greg Vernick, you did your big one with that. And your wine bar, your bottle shop, popping too. Another place that he has is Vernick Fish. And Vernick Fish has been the conversation. That's his latest restaurant. Now, we're on the street. You didn't hear this from me. He's thinking about his next big thing. And wherever it is and wherever it's at, I will be there because I just love his restaurants. So I went to Vernick Fish. There's a special voyage dinner event. He pop-up dinner. Not like it's a pop-up dinner, it's like a dinner special thing he's been doing. This one was like a Louisiana situation. There was jazz, Cajun food, jambalaya, um, Sazeracs, or was it Sazerac? It was like, I think, a Sazerac type punch. He had a Schuylkill punch that was Pennsylvania based, Philly based, of course. I mean, it was just a great time. The food was incredible, and he was, as always, is a great dude. So can't get enough of that. Other things that I did this past week, I went to the Influence Awards hosted by, of course, Philly Mag. You know, I've been at Philly Mag for now over 8 years. It'll be 9 years in January. Our beloved editor in chief, Brian Howard, is going to be leaving us in November after being at the helm of the publication for several years. They're going to be on a search for a new leading editor. Before you all start, no, that is not going to be me. I have no interest in being the editor-in-chief of Philly Mag. I've been there for 8 years, going on 9, but I love my freedom. But I love writing for them. I love being a contributor. I love writing on politics. I love being a part of the big packages they do. I love being a part of the Philly Mag family. But I want to be very clear, because a lot of you all have already started. No, I am not trying to be in the hat. I don't want to be in consideration. I love what I do, how I do it, and that job is a very important job. It is a great job. And maybe years ago, maybe in a different world, I would have wanted that. But I really love the projects and the time I invest in what I do currently. And I love the way I do it. To do a job like that, I would have to sacrifice other gigs and opportunities to really put my all into that role. That's something I don't want to do. But it is a great job for someone who really wants a full-time, all-in magazine job. I know there will be a big search in the weeks to come, but I just wanted to let you all know that, because you all were hitting me up like, yo, you next, you got next. No, I don't. But thank you for thinking of me. And let me be very clear. If I did want to do it, I would do it well. But I am excited to be able to support the next editor and work with them on their vision. I don't know who's in the running. I don't think they've actually interviewed anyone at this time, but I know that, you know, whoever the next editor is, I look forward to working with them, because I've been here, you know, for nearly 9 years. So I've worked with Patrick Kirsta. That was the man who hired me. I worked with Tom McGrath, who was a great editor in chief. I've worked with Kate Daly, who's now at the Inquirer. And now I've worked with Brian. And me and Brian has been at the magazine around the same time. My entire time I was at Philly Mag, Brian Howard was there. So he's going to still work with the publication, contributing, doing some writing stuff. So he's not all the way out. What I love about Philly Mag is that a lot of our writers, editors, people that work with us, they never just leave. They're doing something with us. Tom McGrath, who has an incredible book that came out this year on yuppies and that generation, he continues to do really great long-form journalism and work with the magazine. And you know, we still keep in touch from every now and then. He's doing his thing. And, you know, as you all know, I never left at all. You know, I'm always moving positions and roles. I came as the LGBTQ editor, was an opinion writer, writer at large, editor at large. I'm a political writer at large. I just love Philly Mag and the things that they do. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, places in Philadelphia where people talk about just, you know, diversity, all these things. I just want to say, for the record at this point, there was only one publication in this city that allowed me to do it the way I want to do it at this capacity. Now, I was at Metro Philly, but they're more of a national owned outlet. But when I'm talking about Philadelphia owned media companies, right? We're talking WHRY. We're talking the Philadelphia Tribune. We're talking the fucking Inquirer. Those people in those places, they didn't want to take a shot. They didn't want to give me a shot. They didn't want to take a chance on me. I mean, let's be clear. Since my glow up over the years, some of them have spun the block and was like, "Hey, you ever thought about?" Nah, I'm good. I'm good over here. And I mean that. And I am good over here. But there were people that once upon a time, you know, was like, "Oh, I don't know if our audience, our readers would, you know, you're a little divisive. You're a little too strong in your opinions. You know, I've heard all kind of stuff. And some stuff was homophobic. Some stuff was racist. Some stuff was, you know, a lot of things. I won't name names, but some of you all know these places and how they get down. You already know. And I will just say that I had those experiences. I had those experiences. I had people say some things to me that in retrospect, some of them came back and apologized. But there were people that really wanted to put me to the test. I remember one of the outlets, I won't name them, but there was at one point in time a conversation about me being a columnist for them. And they really wanted to, this was like over, let me see, about 7 years ago. And I had just won the NABJ Emerging Journalist of the Year Award, which is a pretty big damn deal. And they really wanted, they had turned me down years ago, prior, a couple years prior, but wanted to bring me back into the fold. And they wanted to give me a columnist position. And at the time I was, kind of like, let me see what the money looking like. But what was interesting was they wanted me to like audition for it. Like they wanted me to write multiple pieces for them. They wanted me to write multiple pieces to say, we want to see if you're a good fit. And I was like, I'm confused. You know my writing. You know what I can do. To ask me while I'm on contract with another rival publication to just keep publishing and writing pieces for you on your site without an actual contract, without an actual job option? No, I know the business. I was young enough. I didn't know how fucked up that proposal they gave me at the time, but I knew enough, I had enough common sense in my gut to be like, that don't make sense. Now, today, what they were doing, that was fucked up. And that would have got me in a lot of shit if I would have did that. And I'm so happy I didn't, because there's no way in hell I would write for them. You can guess who I'm talking about right now, but I can't say. I ain't gonna put no names out there. But they wanted me. They want the doll. They wanted me. They was trying to poach me and trying to pull me. I'm so happy I didn't do that. That was one of the smartest career moves. I'm so happy I didn't do that. At the time, I was definitely hot. That was when the star was born. That was 2017. I had a lot of attention on me, and I was very much, the sky was the limit. I mean, I had people from national publications. People were just really throwing opportunities, but something in my gut was like, I'm good where I'm at, and I'm so happy I didn't pivot. I could have been in New York. I could have been in LA. A lot of times people always tell me, why are you not here? Why are you not there? Baby, it's by choice. Let me be very clear. Some of your favorite media outlets, TV and print and radio, has reached out to me to try to get me to work for them over the years. And the money wasn't working. The culture in that place wasn't looking good. And when I look at the contracts and the way I work now and how I do, the way that I see people be censored, the way that I see people control people's voices and stuff, that's just not me. Like I don't want to have to walk on eggshells. I want to talk the way I want to talk, and I want to make the money I want to make, and I want to have the freedom to be creative. I don't want to ask for permission. I don't want to have to be like, can I write this book? Can I do this freelance project? Can I make this TV appearance? I don't want to do that. So that year was the year that I really worked and solidified Ernestly Empire LLC. Like, Ernestly Empire has been around, but that was when I got all the paperwork, the legal stuff, got the lawyer, got the team, and I really got serious about making this my permanent destination. And that's when I had the mindset of, I'm going to work with publications, but I'm not going to work for them. Working for a company and working with the company are two different things. Words matter. And so that was really big to me. But I say all that to say that the Philly Mag influencer, well, I be digressing, don't I? But the tea be hot, don't it? So the Influencer Awards was dope. It was a really great experience. They had the Fiddler Club, and downstairs in their brand new, not a brand new space, but they had an event space that I haven't really been to the event space downstairs, but it's really spacious. It was really fun. There were some great people, some good folks that I saw win. Personally, Josh East Philly should have won Influencer of the Year. He won Food Influencer of the Year last year. He was nominated for Influencer of the Year this year. He should have won, in my opinion. But a lot of times the politics of awards programs is sometimes they don't want the same people to win or different people to win each year, so I have to spread out the winners. But the whole hood knew he should have won. It's like when you go to the Grammys and they keep denying Beyonce album of the year, and you're just like, Beyonce should have won. I know how that feels. I've been through that myself. So he's always the influencer of the year with the Lip Brothers because really we're like that group. So moving along. That same night, I was at another event which was in Philly. And this was which has become interesting. The Philadelphia Tribune had their most influential African Americans. Yes, African Americans. We'll take it. They had the most influential African Americans event at the Pennsylvania Convention Center for a fourth consecutive year. Yeah, fourth. Yes, wow. For a fourth consecutive year, I had the privilege of being named on that prestigious list, along with many incredible Black leaders across the region, from CEOs to presidents of organizations to elected officials and movers and shakers. All of that, we were together at the Pennsylvania Convention Center for another great year. And it was nice. It was a great occasion. I was happy to be there. You know, for many years, you all know, many of you all raised hell and said, why is Ernest not there? He is being snubbed. And I definitely was snubbed. But, you know, look, when people get it right, it's always nice, right? So we move forward. So I was very humbled and honored to be amongst these great, outstanding African Americans. And it was a great event. It was fun. But yeah, that was my week. But this week I have the pleasure of going to Kimmel to see an incredible musical that I've been wanting to see for a long time. I've heard things about it, but now I'm able to see it. The Assembly Arts, which I gotta get it right, Assemble Arts, Philly, which is of course connected to the Kimmel brand, but we call it Assembly Arts, Broadway series. They're doing the Book of Mormon. It is going to be starting Tuesday, October 1st to October 6th. This is a major Tony Award-winning musical. It's going to be at the Academy of Music in Center City. New York Times love it. They call it the best musical of the century. I mean, this musical is stellar. It follows the adventures of a mismatched pair of missionaries. They are sent halfway across the world to spread that good word. But as you can imagine, it is very explicit, and it is about Mormons, and it is a very fun musical. And I say it like that because what I love about a good Broadway musical, I'm a traditional Broadway girl. I love my classics, as you all know through my podcast. But Book of Mormon is one of those it's newish. It's newish. It's been around for a little bit, but it's one of the Broadway musicals that really have stayed the test of time. It's one of those musicals. It first started in 2011. So Robert Lopez, who you all know, did Frozen, did all he's an EGOT winner, one of the youngest EGOT winners. I think he's the youngest to get EGOT in the fast shortest span of time. I mean, this man has an Emmy, an Oscar, a Tony, and a Grammy, and his work on Book of Mormon, is incredible. Won several of incredible Tony Awards, including Best Musical. So it is an iconic production, and it's great. This is not for children. It is not for children, and a lot of people. I want to be very clear. Kimmel will let some people go. People go out and kids. This is for grown folks. This is a musical for adults. So please make sure that you know that coming in, because they got the little button up shirts, and it's fake, but it is a fun musical for adults. I remember Avenue Q, which was another great musical that was about puppeteers and had that little Sesame Street type of element. But that was not a kid-friendly musical. It's for adults. And this is one of those musicals where, go with a girlfriend, come with your homeboy, but get into it. So I'm super excited. It's available. Like I said, tickets are available now. I'm going with my younger brother because we've made a point to do musicals. Like it's an experience that I'm always gonna be a thespian at heart. I did theater arts when I was in middle school, high school. I even did some in college, actually. I love plays. I love musicals, and this is just something that I'm big on. So getting him exposed to these great shows in this unique way. I mean, he went to high school musicals and things like that, but when he got to Philly, I was like, you gotta go to these shows. When you go on dates, this is other things to do other than go to bars and clubs. So it's an opportunity for him to have it. So we went to oh my goodness, we saw a really great show at Assembly. Oh my goodness, it was based off of a Greek musical. I'm trying to remember which show it was because there's a lot of musicals that have come, but it won Best Musical. It was based off of the popular Greek musical, not musical, but Greek story, Hadestown, 2019, Hadestown. We went to go see Hadestown, and that was earlier this year, and he loved it. So Book of Mormon is on my list. I was like, we gotta go see Book of Mormon. So we're going to like all of like the very modern, shows. Like Mr. Johnson and I are very much classics. So we go to like Lion King, and Dr. Parks and I went to go see Mamma Mia. So I've noticed a trend. New musical, like, oh, for example, we saw Les Mis. Mr. Johnson and I saw Les Mis and loved it. So the trend is I do the classics with Mr. Johnson and I do the modern, hit musicals, either with my Bessie Jamarcus or with my younger brother who's at Temple. So that has been my flair. I love that my listeners have been going to these shows. You all tell me about which ones you like and what you think about them. This is no exception. October 1st, October 6th. So you got a little bit of time, a little small window, like less than a week. Because these are the type of shows that come in town in and out, in and out. So make sure you check out the Book of Mormon at Assembly Arts because it's popping. And they still do cocktails. You can go there, get cocktails. I just want to say that because people are asking about the bar. They do cocktails. You can still get your cocktail. And what's cool about Assembly, as you all know, you can go there and they make a specialty cocktail that's like inspired by the show. Now, this is Book of Mormon, so I'm curious about because Mormons can't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. I'm not a Mormon, but I don't drink coffee. But it's gonna be really fun how they get creative with the snacks and drinks this time around. But I just want to put that out there because this is gonna be a really, really fun show. So those are my updates. So let's get into this week hot topics. So the VP debate is also gonna be on Tuesday, October 1st, 9 p.m. Okay, this is on CBS. Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan are going to be the moderators. These are CBS News anchors, correspondents. They're talented. They're going to do their thing. Two women, which will be very interesting for someone like J.D. Vance, who is the vice president VP pick for former President Donald Trump. And of course, Tim Walz, who is the VP pick running mate alongside of Vice President Kamala Harris, who is also clearly running for president. I don't really have too much for this debate. I don't, this debate can go various ways. J.D. Vance is no Donald Trump. I will give him credit for that. Now, that doesn't mean he's the smartest, but it's just to say that I hope that Tim Walz is coming to this debate and taking it seriously, which I do believe he's going to take seriously, but I don't want him to get caught up in just treating J.D. Vance like a total joke. J.D. Vance, even though he's a moron, he is a more respectable presenting moron. And what I mean by that is that he's younger. He's under 40. He is a millennial. And he is somebody who tries to articulate bullshit in a way that sounds like it might make sense. But this is an opportunity for JD Vance to make a fool of himself. He really wanted to debate Kamala Harris, which I honestly would have loved that. But what I loved the most is how the vice president completely slaughtered the former president in the debate. And honestly, Harris and Trump, to me, was more more intriguing, and the debate we always wanted to see more than I would have said Vance and Harris. I think that would have been, we would know how that would have been. But to talk about maximizing talent, Um, it's going to be great to see Walsh and Vance, two white men from very similar backgrounds, slightly, but very different ideologies. This is really the debate that I think is going to be one that every American, specifically white Americans, because black folks, black folks. Look, we know what we're doing, but white America, this is the debate for you all. Harris did her thing, and clearly we can all agree she won the debate. But for white folks that are still standing undecided, I think this debate between Walsh and Vance is going to really clearly convey messaging to white folks that only white folks will get from other white people. This is for you. This debate is for you, white people. This debate is for you undecided white voters in middle America who still act like you don't get it. And maybe hearing a black woman articulate to you maybe wasn't for you. I don't know. I remember this, and I think about this when I think about Obama, right? When Obama was debating, McCain, when he was debating, Mitt Romney. I think about how Biden at the time took on Palin and really, nailed Palin. I think about Biden against Paul Ryan, right? And how Paul Ryan lost that debate easily. This is the debate where I want to see Walsh school J.D. Vance in that same way, because Paul Ryan was very young, Sarah Palin was very immature. J.D. Vance is no different. This is an opportunity for Walsh to really, number one, defend the Harris campaign, but also be ready to really fight against a lot of the narratives that the Trump campaign has had against Harris, to try to act like she's this foreigner, she's this outsider, she's this person that doesn't understand America. Walsh gets it. Walsh is that community. To hear him make the case, especially up against Vance, is going to be big. And so that is what I'm looking for the most in this debate, is seeing how these two white men that come from similar backgrounds be able to make the case to that demographic. So this is to me an important debate for that reason, and I want to make sure people don't sleep on that reality. Just gonna put that out there. So let's get into the real tea, right? Well, that's tea, but let's talk about it because y'all want to talk about it. Let's talk about it. New York City Mayor Eric Adams is indicted. This is the first sitting mayor in New York City history to be indicted on federal charges in this kind of magnitude. We've never seen anything like this in New York City. A lot of, listen, Baltimore, don't do that, Joe says. But listen, we ain't gonna talk about the history of Baltimore mayors, okay? And before y'all start on Philly, baby, listen, Philly had its problems, but our mayors never had this type of scandal. Now, I can't say the same for former district attorneys or former attorney generals of our state. But what I will say is no Philly mayor ever dealt like this. Now, maybe Joe will be somewhere like, but didn't y'all mayor drop a bomb on y'all? He did. First black mayor, Wilson Good. But the second black mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, then fucked up. Now, for the past couple of weeks, I was hinting that I felt like it was closing in. And it was very obvious it was closing in. Now, for those who have not been reading the news and following these charges, Adams is indicted for, again, situations where he's being accused of, federal corruption charges, taking bribes, dealing with foreign influences. He's charged with bribery, wire fraud, conspiracy, and 2 counts of soliciting campaign contributions from foreign nationals. We're talking about the Turks, okay? Now, he has said it very clear. He has pleaded not guilty, and he did that on Friday to federal corruption charges, okay? Prosecutors are accusing him of using his power and influence to garner free trips and luxury hotel stays and some questionable campaign donations. I mean, I read the indictment, and it's pretty damning. You in trouble. And here's what I will say about Eric Adams. And I know a lot of progressives and folks is like, we knew this was going to happen. Yes, you all probably felt like Eric Adams had a problem. But I still stand on the fact that Eric Adams got elected because progressives, just like in Philadelphia, respectfully, or respectively, let me say, you guys are so fucking divisive amongst yourselves. Get behind one fucking candidate. You should have picked one. Was it going to be Maya? She wasn't the runner up. I mean, there were other people that were runner ups. I remember that race. And there were so many different types of Democrats and progressives and moderates. And you all ate each other out on the votes. You all couldn't get there. So I hear people talking about potential stuff, you know. It would be nice to see if people get behind Maya. I heard about, you know, potentially Andrew Cuomo might be considering it. Please do not, Andrew Cuomo. If you don't know why I'm saying please do not Andrew Cuomo, because you can actually read my book, The Case for Council Culture, and I actually talk about Andrew Cuomo, former disgraced governor Andrew Cuomo, and how he actually tried to act like council culture was unfair to him, but that's bullshit. He has to go. So I don't see it for him. I really want people to, you know, progressives, get serious if this man, you know, he has to run for re-election next year. I don't think he's going to win. He says he's not going to resign, even though I have heard the New York Democratic governor could potentially, you know, force him out, but I don't think that's going to be happening. You know, there has been speculation, and you know, Eric Adams has hinted at it that, you know, this is a response from political powers that be, because the Democratic, allegedly, right, the Democratic Party, you know, he wasn't trying to stay in line with the party. Some people said that some of his conversations and thoughts on immigration, you know, has been hard for the Harris administration. Now, this is all just a bunch of rambling and gossip and things. At the end of the day, ain't no comparison, y'all, or no conspiracy. Eric Adams has allegedly done some things that's just old school political corruption. He says he didn't do it. He will have his day in court. But if I was a betting man, I just don't believe that this man will be free. But a lot of times we don't know. Look, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, before he was Council President, had several major charges, and his wife and him went through the court system. But, you know, those charges didn't go through. He never got convicted. He was acquitted. And so at the end of the day, that man is an innocent man who never was convicted of a crime. So while it was a little suspicious and things was looking a little weird over there, at the end of the day, that man is an innocent man in the court of law. That is Council President Kenyatta Johnson, his wife, Don Chavu. So, I mean, listen, I'm not going to make a comparison, but I just want to emphasize that people are innocent in the court of law. The court of public opinion, it's not always the same, right? We see that with O.J. Simpson, the late O.J. Simpson. Just saying. So, I don't know. Eric Adams' political career is done, in my opinion. I mean, even if he is not found guilty, I just think this was just enough for him. People were tired of him anyway. Before the indictment even happened, folks was over Eric Adams. The swagger just couldn't save him because of the fact that, you know, my thing with him was like, okay, you know, you can be a little silly, but you wasn't just silly. According to this indictment, you was doing a lot of other things than just being silly. So, New York, get y'all shit together. On the same day, okay, former New York City Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, disgraced former mayor, not governor, Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, was disbarred from practicing law in Washington, D.C. He's been disbarred. That is one of the biggest shames, disgraces for a lawyer. To be disbarred as a lawyer is like the biggest disgrace you can do as a lawyer. It's embarrassing. It's like a doctor getting their license taken away from them to practice medicine. You went through all of those years of education and practice to basically lose your ability to practice law in a particular area. And it was on the same day that Eric Adams was indicted. So it's just not looking good for New York mayors, past and present. Let us just hope that the Reverend Al Sharpton does not get involved in this. And I have to say that because when Eric Adams was going through his controversies a couple of months ago, with that Breakfast Club interview and everything else that came of that, Al Sharpton had him somewhere baptizing him and praying for him. So I just hope that Al Sharpton stays out of it now, because we don't need that. We really don't. Get your shit together, brother. So I'm going to leave that there, but it ain't looking good for Eric Adams. Could you imagine if that was happening in Philly? But oh, wait. In the words of Meek Mill, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished? Philly. Okay, let's talk about Mayor Sherrell Parker. Listen, I've been holding myself, reserving myself. I'm trying to practice the art of reflection. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to hear the things. Mayor Sherrell Parker presented the proposal for this 76ers arena. I gotta say, I'm not impressed with this proposal. There's big promises, big business. Big business is being proposed over here. It's a lot. There's promises of pilots, pay in lieu of taxes to support public schools. Millions of dollars, they're saying they're going to do a year. There's talks of high-rise buildings and units and new properties. There's talks of hotels, potentially. There's a lot of big money. But one of the things that the mayor made clear and kept emphasizing is that this is not going to be in Chinatown. It's going to be adjacent to Chinatown. Oh my, this is the thing that gets me. I'm not boo-boo the fool, and neither are you all, right? I know a lot of people would love to play into rhetoric. We just got to stop at a certain point. We really got to stop at a certain point. We got to stop with the shenanigans. We got to stop with the shenanigans. We really do. And what I mean by that is, let's not play word games. Chinatown adjacent? What are we saying? What does that mean? Chinatown adjacent. That like I don't know, I didn't slap you. My face was adjacent. My hand was adjacent to your face. What are we talking about? I didn't grind on you. My hip was adjacent to your ass. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? What does that mean? What are we saying? See, this is the stuff that's infuriating. If you're putting that piece of property right next to Chinatown, adjacent means right next to. If you put something that fucking massive right next to an area like that, you're pretty much is impeding upon the fucking area. I want to go up to some of these politicians and put myself right in front of them. And I want them to say, you're in my way. No, I'm not. I'm adjacent to you. Am I in your way? No, I'm not in your way. I'm adjacent to you. Is this impacting you right now? No, it's not. I'm adjacent to you. I'm gonna try that. I'm just gonna go up to a city council person respectfully, and I'm just gonna be in their way. I'm just gonna be right in their way. And I'm gonna make a joke to somebody and say, they're gonna say, hey, you're in my way. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm adjacent to you. Just like Chinatown. You all are saying that Chinatown is adjacent. Like the 76 Arena is adjacent. So I'm adjacent to you. I'm not in your way. I'm not hurting you. We're trying to play these semantics because if we're gonna play like that, we can play like that. Okay? It wasn't, listen, the smell of the trash It's not impeding upon you because it's adjacent. It's not touching you, it's adjacent. I thought we were not going to do this. Listen, a tough decision was made. The mayor chose to go forward and endorse this proposal. If that's what you're going to do, you got to be honest about the impact. You can't insult people's intelligence respectfully. You can't play into semantics, right? Let's be clear. Let's be very clear. The 76ers arena is not in Chinatown directly. It is right next to it, and we know when you put a big fucking piece of shit right next to something, the smell encompasses the area, which is why neighborhood surrounding it does not support it. Now, their team over there at the park administration has put out press releases and statements talking about this building support. Now, I looked at some of the names that supported it. The superintendent, Tony Wallington, seems to be in favor of it. The president of CCP, Guy Generals, okay? Regina Hairston, who is the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce. Jerry McSweeney, who's a big developer, is in support of it. This is the thing, right? The people that are supporting it is not necessarily people who are definitely going to be directly impacted by this arena in that area. The community does not fucking want it. The neighboring communities like the neighborhood and areas don't fucking want it. I need to see those signatures. You got names of those people? You don't. Because the reality is that you can have some big famous names sign on to something, right? But we know that people don't care. I don't care that Kodak Black is endorsing Donald Trump. I don't care that Amber Rose is endorsing Donald Trump. These people, those celebrities, whoever's president, they're going to stay rich and they're going to be fine. I don't care about them. Give me somebody with some real skin in the game that is going to speak and defend this. So far, from Pastor Crawl Day and these people, they just, Anton Moore, with all due respect, we're going to keep it respectful. I'm going to keep it respectful. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to keep it really classy because I'm just really frustrated by the fact that people are allowing themselves to be utilized in this way. This is not your community. You're not from Chinatown. You don't live in Chinatown. Respectfully, if we're going to go do the adjacent shit, please stop telling me that I'm not from Philadelphia and that, how can I talk on it? Because you're basically doing what you're telling people like me not to do. Fuck the whole transplant argument then, because my tax money ain't adjacent to paying to make this city up. I actually pay my taxes. Some of the people are not paying their taxes in on time, okay? And the amount of taxes that I fucking pay to support this city is probably more than your tax bracket, some of you are. I'm not naming names, but I want to be frank that you better be very careful on how you start talking to people when it comes to this, because you're supporting something that is going to support outside transplants. And what I mean by outside transplants, let me scratch that, not even transplants. People who don't live in this city, pay taxes in this city, has no business dictating what happens in that area. And the people that are supporting this, with all due respect, they might live here. They might pay taxes here. That's fine. But the issue here is you really have to be mindful about the impact that this is going to have on other folks. And you got to have some compassion for the folks in Chinatown and those nearby communities. You just have to. And I just feel like all this talk about money. Listen, there's a lot of ways that we can shore up the budget in this city. Y'all ready? Y'all want to know some of the ideas? Because I have some ideas that we can shore up the damn budget. Maybe since people want to ruin neighborhoods, let's cut up some of this bureaucracy in our city government. There's too many goddamn deputy this, deputy that. There's too many goddamn positions in this city. Everybody got all these damn jobs. There's a lot of people that's not doing anything. How about we shore up some of that money and cut some of these ridiculous overspending on municipal jobs, because this is too many city jobs. Cut some of this bureaucracy down and you might have some money for public education of the programs. Let's talk about that sheriff's office, why don't you? There's reports that the sheriff's department isn't really doing their job that well, making sure that courthouses are properly staffed and safe. There's been an increase in incidents. There's reports about this. You can Google it if you don't want to hear what I got to say, but if you're here, you know what I'm saying. There's been an increase in a lot of crimes and issues in courthouses and incidents And that's supposed to be purviewed under the sheriff's office, but the sheriff's office seems to be mismanaged, not only financially, but even manager and staffing wise. They're not really doing their job over there, even though the city council continues to increase their budget each year. So you're just dumping money in a crapshoot. And you're talking about how we need to make money for the city? Well, I got a bunch of reasons. Look at that police budget while we're at it. I mean, look into that police budget that y'all keep giving money to. I'm just saying, sit me the fuck down. I can tell y'all something about use a calculator and get into the budgeting and make some money and save some money. You're not doing everything you can to raise revenue and to save money in this city. And until every option has been fully exercised, please spare me from the desperate calls to displace a community like Chinatown in the name of making money for our kids and for our communities. That's bullshit. You don't have to displace this area to make some money for this city. Stop being lazy. Get your asses up, city council, because now the decision up to you. Get your ass up, city council, and go the fuck to work. Your legislative directors, get for real. Stop taking all this backhand money from these developers and being bought and sold like puppets. It's time to go to work. Chop, chop. I'm really frustrated about that. I cannot, because I'm just tired of these stupid ass talking points. They're stupid. Like, we're using dumb phonetics. Adjacent? Adjacent? What? I had to take a sip because this is what I did not want to happen. This is what I did not want to happen. Make a decision. Stand on business, big business, but don't lie, don't mislead, don't deceive, and don't play in people's face. Fair, fair. Okay. Just want to say that. So let's do a recap about Diddy. We're at this part in the Diddy saga where more lawsuits are coming, more allegations been made. But now the Diddy situation has taken a road of its own. We're in conspiracy land at this point. Conspiracy land at this point. And at this point, nobody wants to listen to anything, any voice of reason. I'm going to take some time to debunk some shit. One of the biggest things that's annoyed me is that some of you all have forgotten how long Diddy's been around. Fun fact, Diddy's been around so long that his first name was not Diddy. It was Puff Daddy, okay? That's how long Sean Combs has been in the industry. There is Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Love, Brother Love. This man has been in the industry for over 30 years in the public consciousness. What that means is that when somebody's been around for over 30 fucking years in the industry, that means that every person we know in the modern music era has met this person. This man is a fucking hip hop mogul. He is an icon, a disgraced icon, but this man is legendary in the hip hop game. This man has met everybody. Everybody, from Oprah to Beyonce to Jay-Z to every single person you can imagine. Diddy was huge. He's a big fucking deal. So what that means is that every single person has a picture with Diddy. I almost had a picture with Diddy, actually. I didn't get a chance to get a picture with him in person, but I had a picture with Diddy. And could have had one, don't have one, but could have had one. What's annoying me is seeing people that every single person who's got a picture with Diddy is, any person who took a picture with Diddy, everybody's been accused of, oh, you must know something. They knew, look at this, look at this. Are we serious here, people? Like, are we dumb? We can't be this stupid. We can't be this stupid. So I just want to can we just stop? Like, can we just stop with that? Like, it's interesting to me because every time with Oprah, like, y'all just really just hate successful Black women. It's okay. I get it. You all are so obsessed with trying to pin something on very powerful Black women. What's interesting is that the likelihood of men getting caught up in ridiculous scandals supersede that of women. And there's a reason why. Because women oftentimes are not given the resources or anything to really have that type of abuse of power. And they oftentimes are more compassionate of not to even abusing and utilizing that way. That's why we never hear these crazy ass stories about women in power compared to men. Think about it, okay? That's on us, brothers. What I will say though is that they'll put a picture with Oprah with Trump. Oprah with a picture of Russell Simmons. Oprah with a picture with Diddy and Bill Cosby. Oprah is literally one of the most powerful celebrities on the face of the earth. Why are we shocked that either she took a picture with them or they wanted to take a picture with her? I have a picture of Oprah. I took a picture of Russell Simmons like 10 years ago and did not know Russell Simmons, did not know all the allegations against Russell Simmons. Is there a conspiracy? No, I was at a fucking awards show and I saw a famous person, I took a picture. All of us have met people famous. When I was at Penn, I remember I missed the night that Bill Cosby came to Penn and spoke. A lot of my fellow peers took pictures with Bill Cosby. I don't think any of them knew that Bill Cosby was allegedly Pill Cosby. Like, no one knew that. So I just think we just get so obsessed in trying to create fake narratives that just does not fucking stick. Stop it. Grow up. It's not there. Let it go. Now let's talk about the party stuff, because I got a theory about that too that's going to make a lot of people go, that's a good point, Ernest. So these Diddy parties, I believe that there were probably, Diddy had big ass parties, right? There was a lot of people that went to those parties, those celebrity parties. Diddy was known for throwing his all-white parties, right? And we know that allegedly at some of these parties, there were other things going on in certain rooms and certain spaces. I don't doubt that reality. But what I don't believe is that every celebrity that went to a Diddy party was in a circle and there was like a bukkake going on and somebody was basically doing some inappropriate things and everything. I don't believe that. I do believe that there might have been some situations where upstairs in certain rooms, things like that were happening, or maybe having after party. And the reason why I say this is because as someone who went to college, who went to football parties, frat parties, all type of parties, right? You all know. Now let me take y'all back. Some of y'all went to college, some of y'all went to hood parties. Let's talk about the parties we went to when we were young. You all know when we went to a house party or somebody had a party, right? That there were multiple rooms. There was the backyard, there was the bathroom, there was upstairs. And you know when you went to a party, there were certain groups of people doing certain things. Now, I grew up in Houston, Texas, the Southwest. And when I went to a good old party, right? You know, we used to have the basement parties, the garage parties, right? You knew that there was the main party in the garage. That was the music. Everybody was dancing. Everybody was partying. But you knew that in the backyard, there might have been some smoking and some other shit going on in the backyard. And you knew that there was somebody in a bathroom somewhere doing some stuff that they had no business doing. There's always those elements at a party. No matter what party you go to, well, you know, there's always going to be some stuff going on. When I was in college, I went to certain parties with rich white kids. Upstairs in some private room, some of them was snorting coke. Never done coke, never touched coke. But I done been in a room and I done seen some dust and realized, oh shit, that's not baking soda, right? That's, you go somewhere outside. Ooh, the boys over there lining up outside. They smoking a blunt outside. The boys over there smoking weed outside. You go to the main floor, that's where the dance is at. That's where the punch is at. That's where everybody's drinking and that's the main crowd. Look, I've been to the Grammys. I done been to Grammy after parties. I done been to parties. Never been, listen, you know what to avoid and what rooms to avoid. I done seen some things. Nothing illegal. Well, sexually illegal. I've never seen people get raped. None of that. But I've seen people do some things and I was like, oh, you got a habit going on. Let me get out of here. Right? But that's parties when you're dealing with high influential people. That's parties when you growing up, you done seen some things, right? The dudes over there gambling, somebody rolling dice on the side. But when you go to a party, we all know that a lot of parties have different sectors. So this whole narrative of assuming that, oh, this person was a Diddy party, they must have been doing freak off. They must have been doing all that. Let's cut that out. Let's be real. Let's be grown. Because what y'all are telling me is, some of you all, is that y'all were never invited. And now you're trying to make an excuse why you wasn't invited to a party. I'm not saying a Diddy party, but it's funny how some of these D-list celebrities, like, that's fine to go to the Diddy parties. Was you ever invited? Because if you was, And I'm not talking about Cat Williams, because Cat Williams is different. But some of these people talking about I'm so happy I didn't go to Diddy parties. Well, you know what? If it wasn't a Diddy party, it could have been another party, okay? Because we're not going to act like Diddy's the only one who ever invented a party like that. There's a lot of celebrities that done some things at some parties that was not a Diddy party. So, I just want people to know that this whole witch hunt of trying to, every celebrity trying to do it, it's got to stop. Even the Jay-Z shit. I just know that a lot of the Jay-Z talk is not really about Jay-Z. It's the obsession with shitting on Beyonce because you think her life is perfect and you're so jealous of her. You're so envious that this woman has been able to find peace and serenity in her life in a way that you don't. And you just want to see a downfall. And you know what the irony is to me about this? And I want you all to hear this very clear. Because this is how I know that folks are full of shit. So when the Diddy allegations first came out last year with Cassie, you saw a lot of these men and people on the internet saying, oh, they trying to take a black man down. Diddy's innocent. This isn't about, about sexual assault. This is because he didn't want to work with the white man and Diageo, the brand, the liquors, and he wouldn't do his own thing. And now they trying to, go against him. You all defended Diddy up and down. You all claimed that Diddy was innocent and that all this is a rumor. Now, all of a sudden, the same people who had this conspiracy that this black man was innocent of being taken down by a liquor brand are now the same people that all of a sudden got the inside scoop on these rooms, they all the inside scoop on these parties, and all of a sudden they know all this shit about Diddy and who was involved, and now they got T on Jay-Z and all this shit allegedly. I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. I don't believe you at all. Either you knew something and didn't say something, and now you say you know something, now you know everything. I don't believe anybody. You're lying. I'm going to let the courts handle it. I'm going to let journalists expose it. I'm going to let real people handle this because the rest of you are unserious, and it's just a flip-flop for me. We go from one moment that Diddy was innocent, Diddy didn't know nothing, it's a conspiracy, it's not about this, it's not about that. Cassie this, Cassie that. And now all of a sudden, everybody got more people to name. Now everybody recall this person and that person. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. That is just a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of malarkey. It's a bunch of baloney. And at some point, we got to call a thing a thing. Period. Someone move on. Oh, no, I'm not done yet. This Kim Porter book is BS. Stop it. This Amazon book, some of y'all who should know better, don't DM me talking about did you read Kim Porter's book? It's not Kim Porter's book. Kim Porter did not write that book. This so-and-so person, this author guy, has already admitted to saying he can't confirm. Kim Porter didn't write this book. This is a bunch of bullshit. There are several people right now that have been named in this salacious lie book. Kim did not write this book. And if Kim wrote such a book, who the fuck is this person to somehow get access to it? Put it on Amazon. It is not real. It's not true. Close friends and family have already came forward to say there's no thing. Kim never pitched a book. The book ain't even that big. It's poorly written. I did read it. I did not purchase it. Thank goodness. I would not give this man a goddamn cent of my dime. Thank goodness for folks that look, I'm an author, right? And I don't recommend people taking books and putting people's books, but this is not a real book. This is a bunch of propaganda. This is a bunch of bullshit. And the fact that people are trying to profitize off of a let the dead rest in peace. If you really care about Kim Porter, if you really care about her life, her children, and this trauma, you will not exploit this woman's death for profit. You will not exploit dark times this woman definitely experienced and put out lies at the expense of the trauma of her family. Fuck you all for doing it. Don't buy this book. Don't support this book. Stop promoting it. It's not real. It's not true. And we just got to be better people. So I'm going to make that very clear. Some of these other podcasts want to sip on tea and gossip. See, when you're a real journalist and you know facts, you don't need to fall for the okie doke. That is not a real book. I stand on that. That's not a real book. It's a bunch of nonsense. And the thing about Amazon is Amazon should be ashamed of itself for even allowing somebody to sell something like that, knowing that it's not real, knowing that it's not liable and that it's spreading misinformation. It's a shame on Amazon for doing that. I'm just not at all here for any of that. That's just a terrible thing to do. Speaking of terrible things to do, 50 Cent has decided he's in a deal with Netflix to do a documentary series on Diddy. Disgusting. I don't quite frankly need a documentary on Diddy. I think what's weird to me is that society does not learn. When Surviving R. Kelly happened, and Dream Hampton, who was an incredible journalist, took on this project and put out this very powerful documentary that exposed the crimes of R. Kelly. It was powerful because of the fact that R. Kelly was still out on the loose when Surviving R. Kelly first premiered many years ago. That documentary series is the reason why R. Kelly is behind bars, is the reason why this man will never step foot and harm another woman, a young male, again. We don't need a surviving Diddy because at the end of the day, Diddy, because of the power of Me Too, because of the power of Surviving R. Kelly, victims are being believed a lot faster. The justice system is taking these types of crimes a lot more seriously, and they're moving more swiftly. And that is because of the work of Dream Hampton and incredible Black women like Kenyatta Barnes, who I interviewed, who is the co-creator of Mute R. Kelly. I interviewed her for my book On the Case for Council Culture. It was one of my favorite interviews, and me and Kenyatta Barnes have kept in touch. We talk on a regular basis. We're Facebook friends. Every time I'm in Chicago or Evanston, I go see her. But we've continued to have a really good relationship, and she's going off to do great things in her life. When I interviewed her for my book, one of the things I remember her saying is that people have to remember that when she co-founded Mute R. Kelly was still being played on Tom Joyner morning show. R. Kelly was still doing sold out concerts in major American cities, even though there was so many allegations. So Mute R. Kelly was necessary because people were still accepting and in this man. She went on Tom Joyner morning show. I mean, not her. It was Tarana Burke, who is the creator of Me Too, hashtag Me Too, right? She went on Tom Joyner morning show and talked about R. Kelly. And Tom Joyner said, we will no longer play R. Kelly on our airwaves. Power. Because Tom Joyner is one of the most prestigious Black radio in the Black community. Like, he is iconic. There are people who grew up listening to Tom Joyner morning show on their way to school. For him to not have R. Kelly play sent shockwaves in the industry, and it got to the point where concerts and venues were not letting R. Kelly. They need to do that. In this situation with Diddy, the cancellation has been very fast. So to do a documentary at this point, I think is almost like excessive. I can see an overall, like Sean Combs documentary about the rise and fall of Diddy, like maybe a long documentary about this man's hip hop legacy and just how he was an overall monster. I could see that. But the problem is with the producer. 50 Cent has been accused of sexual assault from a woman in which he had a baby with, right? He's been accused of rape. Now, he has not been criminally charged or indicted, but he's been accused. And this man has a history of misogyny, colorism, and homophobia. And so I find it very disgusting that he is trying to profit off of this man's downfall in a way to try to one-up him based off of reasons that have nothing to do with his care of actual victims, but to profit. This man sees a dollar sign. He's very disgusting. And so I don't want to watch this. I'm not supporting this. And shame on Netflix for capitalizing off of this moment by platforming this misogynist, this bigot to do this to do the show, to do this. This is the ugly side of this, because now everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's trying to find a way to capitalize off of this scandal. And it's just not, it's horrible. I'm happy the courts are responding and handling Diddy, but I'm just very disappointed that there are a lot of vultures out here that are trying to capitalize off of this in a very messed up way. So I just wanted to talk about that and really get that off my chest, because I'm really over a lot of people consistently trying to profitize off of this really horrible moment. It's really sad. So, moving along. This week's Ask Ernest is, of course, about Dr. Phil. You all got a chance to listen to that episode, watch that episode, not listen, but watch. And you all have continued to. And it is free now on Mare Street Media. So for those who have not seen the episode or watched it live, you can now watch it in the comfort of your home for free. If you have a TV, I know some of you are DVR'd, but you can actually go to Merit Plus. That is the platform and channel that is owned by Dr. Phil. He does his own programming, but he also does other shows. So you all got to finally watch Dr. Phil Primetime. And now you can understand why I've been keeping it in about my experience. Now, before I get into the tea, because I'm going to tell y'all some things about this show, I just want to say that the staff and the team of Dr. Phil, the producers, their whole set team, everybody was phenomenal. They treated me very well. It was probably one of the best TV production experiences I've had, surprisingly. Even when Piers Morgan's team was very kind. Piers Morgan is Piers Morgan. But even Dr. Phil was very respectful to me. Now, some of y'all talking about the show itself, we'll get there. But the whole team was great. Do I have any problems with the show itself? The episode, for the most part, kept most elements. There's always going to be editing and things, but I will just say that I will say 90% of what you saw was pretty much it. There was no real fudging or anything. They didn't put words in my mouth. I think that the framing to which they did the show was about 90% on point. The only thing that I did not care for, but again, was not the doing of Dr. Phil, and I understand why the show was the way it was. The other co-host, the other guests on the show. Marquise was fine, the brother, the one who got the hair, was doing the young lady's hair. I'll start from the good, the bad, and ugly. So the good is the production team was great. Dr. Phil as an individual was respectful to me and very professional with me. And so I was good on all that, right? All of the logistics, the hotel, the flight, all of that was straight. No complaints. The food, everything, all of that was straight. The show itself, like the guests, we did not see each other until we came on into that set. So the energy was definitely real. What you saw, the feelings, that was all real. They were very strategic in how they sat us. They sat me on the row with Marquise, and then of course Patricia, the woman who got canceled at Planet Fitness, and I say canceled with parentheses, for taking a picture of a trans individual in a women's bathroom. Yeah, that individual, right? She was on the side sitting next to the young boy, who was featured on the show. Bobby, I believe. Okay. Where do I go here? So let me start with Marquise. Marquise was fine. He was respectful. The brother tried to make a case for why he did what he did. I personally feel like I disagree, right? I didn't think whether he had a school shirt or not. I just do feel like you shouldn't, whether it's intentional or not. I made the point on the show that impact Trump's intentions. And that while it's obvious this man is not a pedophile, he's not a creep, he's a teacher, he clearly loves his students. Just having that kind of interaction where you have students touching your hair, doing your hair, all of that, that's just a boundary thing. And even if you are okay with it, you also got to be mindful about what kind of impact that's having on students. And as an adult with younger people, especially underage people, you have to just be careful about just interactions, even if your intentions are pure, even if you got parents signing consent forms. Like, that's a lot, you know? And so a lot of what I conveyed to him got across on the show. And, you know, he listened and understood some of it. But I remember having my watch party with my friends, you know, of course, Gio, Jamarcus, of course, Mr. Johnson was there, and Dr. Parks and Joe. We had some great pizza. We had Pizza Plus. We was having great wine, and they were, Dr. Parks is into psychology. This is her profession. She made a really good point that people understand that touch and engagement of that nature has a psychological impact on children. It's not to say it's negative or whatever, but there is a certain level of decorum that can create different vibes. And so you got to be mindful about that. And as somebody who does a lot of training with Title IX, sexual abuse trainings, sexual harassment trainings, like all those trainings, I do know it very well as a professor, like how to establish boundaries. And let me tell you, young people don't go through the same training that adults do. So sometimes they might want to be up in your space. They want to be talk to you about certain things. You got to set boundaries. You got to say, don't do that, don't whatever. And as a teacher, as a professor with college students, especially those that are 18, 19, yes, they're legally of age. All of that is true, but I'm still not going to have conversations with them about certain things. Like, the only person that's young like that I'm having conversations with is my younger brother. He's 21 now. That's my sibling, right? That's different. But I'm not having the same conversation that I have with my younger brother with students that's maybe around his age, because I'm a working professional. You don't know how people are going to receive that. There's a boundary. And I think that's the one thing that I hope that he learned, because a lot of it, he dealt with a lot of controversy, dealt with a lot of people criticizing him. But I just really hope that he understands the importance of boundaries, because that, to me, I sometimes felt I got lost in some of the sauce. But overall, I think he was very much mature, very respectful. Now let's get to, who do I want to, I'm going to get with Patricia. That was the ugly, but we're going to get to the bad, because I think the Bobby situation was the one that irked me the most. So the thing with Patricia is that Patricia clearly is a right-wing dimbat. She is clearly somebody that came with a certain political slant and agenda. She's not good at hiding it. She's clearly a Trumper or support Trump ideas. There's lots of transphobia in her language. Like, calling transgender people transgenders like they're chicken tenders is so fucking offensive and just so wrong. And also, just, it's not it, right? She's also someone who really likes to tone police and has this very stunted perspective. Like, she gets up there, she's talking about, I deserve a voice, I deserve to be heard, free speech, my rights. But when I'm giving my thoughts, she interrupts me and she wants to chastise me, tell me, cut that out and do the little hands thing. And it really annoyed the fuck out of me, quite frankly. And in my best, most professional manner, I was trying to tell this person, please shut the fuck up, because you are really being disrespectful and you're being a hypocrite. What you all did not hear on that episode was that while we were exchanging, she made some type of remark that gave off something along the side of, this is what you all do. You all as in you people energy. And that did not get aired, but I said back to her, like, how are you in a position to tell people about cancel culture or what's not okay when you in bathrooms taking pictures of people? I know you not talking. And I really went there with her. That got edited, but let's be very clear. It got real. It got real. And that audience, woo, baby, it was hot in there. the black and brown Latino folks in there, oh, they was holding it down for me. And there was moments where Dr. Phil couldn't keep that room hot because he had to get up and try to get people, try to get it to calm down. It was hot in there. And so y'all didn't see a lot of that. And to be honest, I get editing purposes. I don't know. I don't know if it should all been aired. Because it was a moment where it just got a little bit off the rails. Now I wouldn't say off script because none of us were scripted, but it did get a little bit of a moment where we had to shut this shit down. Okay? Because it got real hot. Nobody used profanity. I didn't curse anybody. I didn't do any of that. I'm professional. I'm still professional. Let's be clear. But it definitely was a moment when I was like, hey, you're doing the most. And you're being very disrespectful. And I will respectfully ask for you to please stop talking to me. It got to that point. Nobody got up. No hands, no security. It was nothing like that. But it definitely was a moment where Patricia just wouldn't shut up. And she really just felt like it was her place in that moment to interject. And I'm just like, why are you talking? Now, what I will say, and this is the way the editing was, Lil Bobby, his parents, was quiet the whole time. And we're going to get to why that's the ugly in a minute. But they didn't speak really. They didn't be disrespectful. They didn't get defensive because I did keep it respectful in the way that I addressed them. And I know a lot of you all messaged me and said you all really liked how I found a way to cause balance. So let's get to the ugly because Patricia, I'm tired of her. The ugly with that scene with Bobby was that for me with him, he's underage. He's 13. I'm not addressing anybody's child. That I'm not their parent. I'm old school. I know how this go. I focused on the parents because what I loved about you all who was watching at home, you all knew what the hell was going on with Bobby, okay? You all knew that him with that make his school great again, the red hat, the font, y'all know what it was. That child by himself to not wake up and do that. What that is indoctrination. His parents are clearly Trumpers. His parents were definitely fueling him and using him in many ways as a prop to push their ideals. And that confrontation at that school, I don't believe for 5 seconds that it was very mild and innocent and real. I don't believe that. I definitely think that there was some more smoke over there. It's very interesting if you notice, if you watch the show, how they reached out to the principal and the school. Listen, it's very clear that there was a lot going on that drove them to not have Bobby and his siblings to come to that school. When you got Elon Musk and you're posting the video of him doing his speech on social media for the internet and you're going viral and you got, conservative right-wing media, libs of TikTok, all these people embracing that, there's a certain crowd and demographic. And I spoke my truth. I defended folks like my younger brother who is young. He's 14. I said, they're talking about Dr. Phil got real condescending and I had to check Dr. Phil respectfully and said, don't be intellectually dishonest because y'all know I'm not afraid to get someone together. I don't care who they are. I kept it respectful with Dr. Phil, but I had to be like, Dr. Phil, what we're not going to do is trivialize this and play in my face. Everybody knew what was going on. And Dr. Phil likes to, he's a TV, he's a host. He's going to want to play to both sides. I feel like, to be honest, he's more conservative than he is liberal. But I do appreciate the fact that he did give me the platform in this space to really get my point across, to really talk about my book. I did appreciate that. And he's told me that he would like me to come back on in the future, and I definitely will come back on because I saw the benefit of being on there. And I actually like doing stuff like this. People say, why do I go on Piers Morgan? Why do I go on shows like that? I'll give you 2 reasons why. And I've said this before. One is because if there's an opportunity to display common sense in public spaces that are not harmful, I will do it because I like to inform, because I do believe that on those platforms, somebody's listening and somebody's learning and somebody's in a space. But you got to have a bag now, but somebody's learning. And when I've gone on Piers Morgan, even going on Dr. Phil, right, there are people who have messaged me, have shared stories, have told me that they thought about it differently. And the council culture conversation, really, that conversation made a lot of people rethink how they felt about the issue. And also seeing the hypocrisy that some people have on this topic. And so that was very powerful to me. And that is why I do what I do. I think another reason is that these liberal progressive media spaces, they don't want a Black voice like mine. Because I'm an unbought voice. And what that means is I'm too woke for progressives to be held accountable. But at the same time, I'm not so extreme and stubborn for conservative media spaces. In other words, I'm a critical thinker. And what that means is that conservative leaning folk, folks like that, they like me on their show because two things can be true, and I'm going to still hold my ground. And I think they like that banter, right? But liberals, my fellow progressives, they don't ever want to be critical about things they can improve upon. And to some extent, I get that, right? Because someone can argue that, look, in a world where there's extremes like Trump and all these other bad people, why do the Democrats need to be better when we're dealing with the horrible, worst people on earth? I don't agree with that. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I believe that we can stomp on these haters, but we can also have better shoes while we're stumping, right? We can wear better boots while we're stumping. Our boots don't got to be out here trifling while we out here stumping on the enemy. We can have cleaner boots. We can polish the boots better. We can wear better boots with better soles, okay? That's what I believe. So what I'm saying is that I would love to go to MSNBC and tell progressives and moderates in this liberal space, hey, we got some shit we got to get better on while we're getting better at defeating the enemy. That's how I look at it. The problem with them is they want to act like they shit don't stink. They're too self-righteous to listen to a person like me in that space. And it's a missed opportunity because there is so many ways we can be so much better, but some folks just want gravitas. That's why I struggle with MSNBC and liberal media like that, because when they bring somebody on, they want to give a platform to like a Trumper or somebody so radically polarizingly different. And to be honest, I don't think this country's like that. I don't think this country is far liberal. I don't think this country's far conservative. I think this country is in this not undecided field, but they're in a space where they're like, I like this group, but I have concerns with it. I think a lot of people do align with the Democrats. I do. I think most Americans are skewed more to Democrats than they are Republicans at this point. I think the issue is that they struggle with the self-righteousness of the Democratic Party. I mean, let's be clear. Republicans are not even self-righteous at this point. They're self-antagonizing and grandizing at this point. They're just lost their mind. But Democrats, I feel like, are so defensive that they won't even allow themselves to listen to critiques from their own team and supporters. And Black men like myself, because I'm not going to be a cheerleader and a pep rally coach for the Democrats, they don't want a space for me. And the sad part is that I'm also not somebody that's entertaining Trump. But what's sad is that there's no room for Black voices, young voices like mine, that can be critical of the establishment while also recognizing some of the benefits that the establishment can do in helping to move the agenda forward. But there's no room for that. There's no room for that nuance for Black folks like me. They would rather engage white folks with the same ideas I do because those people are undecided. Those people are middle America. But like, I grew up in the South. I live in the East. I was born in the Midwest. I live now on the East Coast. I have experienced various levels of money and working class experiences. I've lived through it. I understand the frustrations of my barber. I understand some of the concerns of those Ivy League grads I went to school with. There are some things that both of these parties that work on, and I just feel like voices like mine, I've had to find unique ways to get it heard in this media industry. And that's just real. So when a lot of you are like CNN and this, please understand that those people don't really want my voice. Should I be a voice? Absolutely. But they don't want people like me. Look who the people they have on their show. Look how very polarizing they are, how very scripted. I'm not going to compromise my ideologies, my political philosophies, my understanding of the world to try to get on a fucking TV show. I don't give a fuck about that. I care about my voice being authentic and intentional and nuanced. And whoever will take me to allow me to do that in a way that is safe and comfortable and allows me to express my opinions, so be it, I will do it. Whether it's on Dr. Phil Primetime, Pierce Morgan, or anywhere, that's how I feel. So I want to share that. So with movies. I had to take a sip. If you have not seen the Lyle and Eric Menendez story on Netflix, check it out. It is I believe, 8-part miniseries that explores the Menendez killings. This is the two brothers who killed their parents in the 90s. This has been talked about for decades. But they did a story. This is Ryan Murphy who produced it. Now, this is part of the Munster series. So, there was the Jeffrey Dahmer, saga last year. Now they're doing it on the Menendez brothers. There's a lot of homoeroticism in this. There's a lot of salaciousness. It was all right. It was all right. I just wasn't. I don't know. Ryan Murphy just feels like a broken record. And I'm going to get to that later in the episode. But I just feel like we're just at a point where this model that Brian Murphy is doing is fizzling. He's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of impact. But he is like the white gay Tyler Perry. He is the white gay Tyler Perry. I mean, he definitely has awards and there's more critical acclaim. But there's just a level of just recklessness and how he tells these major stories. And I just feel like he always leans more into salaciousness more than some real grounded truths. And of course, members of the Menendez family has come out and spoke against the portrayal. I mean, that's the same case with Dahmer. Like, these families get re-traumatized, and he just is so reckless with how he portrays these very sensitive stories. And so, yeah, it was all right. If you're bored and you want to watch it, watch. If you're not, it's okay. What I will recommend people to watch is the McMahon docuseries. That is also on Netflix. This is about Vince McMahon, the big CEO of WWE. When I was younger, it was WWF. And as my grandmother used to call it, wrestling. Okay, you never lived if you was black and your old uncle or grandpa or grandma used to call it wrestling. What's the wrestling on remote control? Not remote control, remote control. Remote on remote. Wrestling. Friday Night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, baby. That was what my brothers and I used to watch when we was growing up. Okay? Wrestling. I bought tickets for my younger brother to go to WrestleMania in Philadelphia. This is a wrestling family, for better or for worse. I don't watch anymore, but I used to be into it. My favorite wrestler was let me back up. I liked The Rock. He was entertaining. He was cute. I had my little queer crush watching some of them. He was cute. When I was young, I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. But my favorite wrestler of all time is Triple H. I used to love Triple H. That choke slam, that move, y'all know, he puts the guy between his legs and he gets the arms and he does the choke slam. I lived for that move. The music, his opening music is all about the game. And I ain't play. Listen, you couldn't tell me that Stephanie McMahon, that saga between him and Stephanie and Trish and China when he was with RIP China. Listen, D Generation X Suck it. Listen, I remember when I was younger, I think I was in second grade. I think I did the suck it sign. I didn't know what that meant. I was so young. First of all, wrestling was terrible back then when we was younger. Like that little, we didn't know what that meant. I did not know what that was referring to. But I remember we used to be like Ernest. They were like, when we was growing up, all of us, we used to do wrestling in school. And we used to remember the little video, the commercial, kids, don't try this at home. Because we saw a wrestler, was it Angle, something, that guy died on the wrestling match. Remember that? Okay, for those who were my millennials and my, y'all, some of y'all remember that? The wrestler, I remember Kurt Angle, who had the Olympic medals, but I remember that one wrestler, a couple wrestlers actually, who died during the wrestling match. Those were man, I grew up. That was the era. Okay. They don't do it like that anymore. That was the era. And it used to be more sexism and homoeroticism and homophobia, sexual chocolate. Remember him? Was Kurt Lowe, whatever they called him? All of that. The racial tropes. Wrestling used to be real. Like, listen, I know there's been research and dissertations written about it, but like, I don't think there's been enough said about the entire problematic nature of wrestling, like mainstream, like this. So anyway, the Mr. McMahon docuseries covers some of those elements and covers this man, and you walk out of that documentary being like, oh, oof. Yeah, Vince McMahon's legacy. And look up his former wife, Linda McMahon, who she been affiliated with. Look up Linda McMahon, his former wife. I don't want to tell too much, but the tea was hot. That was good TV. That was a good docuseries. Okay? That one right there, I enjoyed it. Nostalgia, I learned a lot of shit. Vince McMahon, a problem. Now, he's come out since then and spoke on things. He was very vague, but basically, criticized the docuseries, which means it was good. A hit dog will holler. Roof, roof. But it was good. It was a very good docuseries. I recommend that highly. And then this great animated film that everyone's been talking about. Now, I know a lot of y'all like Inside Out 2, which I still think will win the Oscar for Best Animated Feature because it's Disney and I can see it winning. But this film, The Wild Robot from DreamWorks, really good. Really good. Heartwarming. Animation is kicking ass. Really liked that film. Really like The Wild Robot. If you have not seen it, if you have, younger siblings, family, you could go watch it with them. But if you're just a young adult that just or just an adult that want to see a good animated film, that was incredible. A really great film. I was impressed. Very original, very creative. For a non-Disney film, that's not a sequel, another Despicable Me. The Wild Robot was really good. Highly recommended. So to music. Gaga done dropped a supplemental album called Harley Quinn, whatever. And it is to supplement, it's like the soundtrack to the new Joker film that's coming out this upcoming Friday. Listen to it. It's okay. I mean, she's got a new album coming out. I think this will be her 7th studio album. She's going back to pop. I loved Chromatica during the pandemic. This is okay. I mean, it's jazzy. It's very, it's not a bad album. It just was like, but I mean, maybe after watching the film, which I have already seen a preview of, but it does supplement the film. But as far as stop, drop, and roll to listen to it, it was all right. I'll see what Gaga's actual album's giving. You all have seen by now that the world is beating up on 143, that Katy Perry album. Its chart performance on Billboard will not be that high. I can predict that. It's Katy Perry, what's a little sad? What I will say, to be fair, I've given it a little bit more listens. The music is not that bad. It's great dance music. Some of it is good, some of it is fun, but it just isn't with the times. And I think the Dr. Luke situation is really the real elephant in the room why a lot of people don't want to support it, which I get because I can't, I don't, first of all, Woman's World was a terrible song. Bad album. The cohesion's not there. And I think the Dr. Luke situation has really just continued to take this album back. I mean, I really think it has some potential, but Dr. Luke's impact has really ruined this album and the comeback that Katy Perry was really looking for. So it's a wrap. But somebody else that I'm not really feeling anymore, and this really took me by a little bit of disappointment. All summer long, I kept talking about her. Chapel Roan. I'm just disappointed in her. I just feel like she's she's exhausting. Like as an entertainer, she's exhausting. She's been canceling shows. Her talk about politics has just been all over the place. There was this notion that she was pro-Palestinian and therefore she wasn't going to support either candidate, but more so negatively towards Kamala Harris. It's come out that allegedly her family's conservative and maybe one of her relatives is a Republican state legislator in, I believe, Missouri. And she has a close relationship with him. And all of this stuff is just not adding up with her. And she just keeps talking. And I feel like the more she talks, the more she just makes it worse. And I'm just more turned off from her. She's obviously, has made it clear that adjusting to fame was not something she was ready for. And she's just really not taking it well. And I just feel like the more I find out about her, the more I'm just not really feeling her. And it's so interesting because my husband was a fan of her too. And he just kind of just took her music off his catalog. And I'm just not really, I'm not here. I'm not feeling her. Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter girl, what's up? You might be back in the running again for best new artist. I feel like the Grammys, I feel like she's losing votes. She's losing voters. Where you at, Sabrina Carpenter? Because Sabrina just keeping it cute. And you know what? Charlie XCX, with her brat, we know where she stands. This is just a year where I just feel like people being neutral in politics either don't say shit or be with Kamala. I'm sorry. Because if you hinting that you want some Trump or you making false equivalencies between these candidates, I ain't here for it. I can't rock with you. That's my choice. Everybody got a preference. That's my preference. And I just feel like Chapel Roan, like, I'm confused. Like, you're inspired by a drag community. You talk about you're queer. You talk about all this stuff. But your politics, it's just given that white women, even when they, try to be woke or whatever, will always lean into their white fragility and their privilege to protect themselves from true accountability and doing the right thing. We're in a world where Beyonce and Taylor Swift have made it clear who they're supporting. Charlie XCX has made it clear. John Legend has made it clear. And a lot of other reputable artists. As a pop star, if the top leading pop artists are going in for Harris, stop acting like you can't do it or you're going to lose some fans. Taylor Swift did it. She ain't lost no fans. And I'm proud of her for that. She back on. She earned it, right? And Beyonce, I mean, been with it. Everybody like, how we know she endorsed it. She don't use a song. Child, shut up. There have been artists that have told other artists not to use their music. Trump tried it with Beyonce, and that cease and desist letter was being sent. He took that shit off immediately. So we know where Beyonce stands. And let's be clear, Beyonce has always been a supporter of Democratic political candidates. She showed up for Hillary. She sung at Obama's inauguration. She supported Biden. She told people to vote for Biden. Beyonce has always been an avid supporter of the right candidate. So I will not take that from her. Okay? And neither should any of you all. Period. So on to TV. Ghost 2. Where now next week will be the final season finale. I was not ready. I knew there was going to be blood. I was not ready, y'all. I was not ready for this episode. I don't want to spoil it because some of y'all might still be watching, catching up, but we're starting to lose people now. Blood is being shed. It's all like fight. The series finale is about to come. And Ghost Book 2. Listen, this is a show. I'm going to really miss this show. I really am going to miss this show. I am. Ooh, this is a good show. And it's going to be a great, I'm going to miss this show so much. I just want to say that. Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. It's still going. You know, like I told y'all, I'm writing Rashida off my list. I'm moving on. I'm moving past Rashida. I can't keep giving Rashida my energy. We all know how this is going to play out. I'm very disappointed. I'm just moving on for Rashida and Kurt. They're going to be together forever, and that's just going to be. But what I am interested in is this storyline that's been evolving with this gay character. You all been asking me about him. You know, Saucy Santana. You know, he has a love interest. He has 2 love interests, but he's also in love with another castmate on the show. That was his boyfriend, but then they broke up. And the guy he was dating, he says he's bisexual, but he's mostly been queer in public life. But he is in a situation where he has sex, like a one-night stand with a woman. He got her pregnant, and there's been all this talk of having a baby mama. And everyone on the show is like grappling with this reality that this, for the most part, predominantly gay castmate has gotten a woman pregnant. And now, you know, there's been a lot of homophobia in very subtle ways with that. A lot of, I guess he's bisexual, biphobia. And it's, you know, the guy in question, right? I think what's been hard for me to process with that is that his character pretty much, he wants to give off this persona about how he always wanted a child. Like, even though he's gay, he's still a man. It reeks of like a lot of femphobia, in ways that I'm just like, you don't have to make these remarks and say these things to get this type of attention. Like, it doesn't have to be this downplaying of different types of, and I always hate that when I see gay men, specifically like hyper masculine gay men, feel like they have to get to a point where they downplay people's, you know, their masculinity, other people's experiences and things. That typically gets a little frustrating. And so Saucy Santana has, you know, had a very interesting, this is not Saucy Santana, but his love interest in the show, this guy he dated, it's been really hard seeing him date this guy, and see how it's played throughout the show. And it's just like, it doesn't require, I mean, I don't know, like, as someone who's gay, I just feel like it's always frustrating when I see other gay people, queer people, feel like they have to, you know, prove this masculinity. And I think it's a lot of what I'll call it, and what people call internalized homophobia, right? We say that we're anti-blackness, right? But also, it is a lot of, internalized homophobia. The guy is named Zell. That Zell Swag is his name. And there is some internalized homophobia when I hear men like him feel like they have to downplay other experiences in their lives and things. I just wish that we as black men, especially black queer men, get to a space where we don't have to feel like we still got to perform or prove anything to straight people. Like, I just wish we would be off of that. And because at the end of the day, they're laughing at us. Not all of them, of course, but there are some that laugh at us and see us as a joke and don't take us seriously, even when we perform whatever we think is masculinity or whatever we think it is. They still see us as queer, or they don't see us as having the ability to express various gender identities and expressions. So I just want people to just, when I see this show and this whole storyline, I just hate that it brings a perpetuation, because what happens with straight folks, unfortunately, is they think that we're characters in real life, where they say, oh, I don't like those type of gay people, I like these type of gay people, and they try to categorize us in these types of weird ways that is not actually rooted in actual ideals. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, I don't like neo-Nazis, like white folks that are white supremacists, right? That's a certain actual type, like it's an ideological type. But they're not talking about that. They're talking about, like, they're making some distinctions that are really fucked up. Like, oh, I don't really like, gay men that carry bags. Like, that's such femfolk. Like, what are you talking about? That has nothing to do with like, you're talking about aesthetic. You're not talking about actual values or personality. And I just really hate that. And I think shows like this, storylines like this, sometimes perpetuate that. So I just wanted to say that, because that was big. That was on me. I also watched Jocelyn's Texas, Jocelyn's Cabaret Texas, which is a guilty pleasure. It's a show about nothing, but it's everything, ironically. And then I want to talk about this show, American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. So you notice that Hernandez, there's a theme. This is on FX. It is a 10-part, 10-episode series. It is on FX with Ryan Murphy. Yes, Ryan Murphy has an FX bag and a Netflix bag, and he loves a good miniseries or an anthology series. That is his specialty. I wanted to reserve some of my thoughts because I talked about the other series on Netflix, but I want to talk about this FX thing. This is talking about the rise and fall of this once prominent football player, Aaron Hernandez, who was speculated to be bisexual or gay. He was found dead in his cell, which basically was an act of suicide. And again, Ryan Murphy, I watched the pilot episodes. It's out now. You can watch the show, keep up with it. But again, this man just cannot help himself. He cannot just stop scandalizing and it's always like this homoeroticism that he does, where he's, likes to over-sexualize the queerness of characters and situations. Like, there's always these very extremes. And I sense that he's always done this, right? He did it with Versace. He did it with, of course, he was producing Pose, which is one of his better shows. There was American Horror Story. The People versus OJ might have been his best ever project. Like, hands down, The People versus OJ Simpson was, my opinion, his best work. American Horror Story is good too. Pose was impactful in certain ways, right? There were problems with Pose, but I would say overall Pose, there was some good vibes of Pose on FX. That show had a moment. I did like that American Scandal story about the Clintons, even though that was it got a little weak. Edie Falco as Hillary Clinton was a little, I will say Clive Owen as Bill Clinton wasn't that bad. Bernie Feeler as Feldman as Monica Lewinsky was believable to a certain extent. I that was okay. It wasn't the best, but I did enjoy it. But a lot of these series now, like Munster, the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, was not a fan of that. As you all know, I panned it. I did not like it. I'm just not liking this direction he's going. It's getting darker. It's getting more salacious. And it's just very hurtful to those families and people. So, yeah, I'm just, Ryan Murphy, like, it's time to shake it up. It's time to change it up. Because this is just becoming like a dead horse. And you're kicking it a little too much. So that's my thoughts. But in concluding, I'm just really loving the fact that it's October coming up. It's soon. It's fall. I'm wearing sweatshirts again. I'm wearing sweaters. I'm pulling out the cardigans again. I haven't worn a cardigan in how long? I got all my new Alpha gear. Y'all saw my Alpha track jacket? Oh my God, my line jacket, not track jacket, but it's like a track jacket. Alpha line jacket is what they call it. So a line jacket is in a fraternity, let's just say historically Black fraternity sorority. The line of the fraternity sorority, they have a thing called line jackets. And so the line is the lineage of the group of individuals that crossed that time and period. So my line, we had line jackets that were gifted to us, but we decided to customize our own. One of my favorite line brothers, my LB, Jordan, designed our jackets, and they're fire. You saw them. They're gorgeous. Very intentional, very thoughtful. The details are just phenomenal. And so it came in this past week because this past week marks 6 months since I crossed and became a brother of the greatest fraternity of all mankind, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Okay? Founded December 4th, 1906. On a cold day. Okay, a cold Tuesday at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. Historic. Okay? Incredible young Black men in an Ivy League institution that formed a brotherhood that would inspire a generation of Black men for over a century. No small feat. The first Black Greek letter fraternity in the world. It laid the foundation. There will be no Kappas, no Qs, no Sigmas, no Iotas without Alpha. We were the first. And I'm a proud member to be a part of the first. Everything I do, first. Okay, I was the top of my class. I'm the president of the first Black Journalism Association in America, 50 years strong. First. We love firsts. And so, super excited to be a part of that. And that was a moment. So I'm just soaking that in. Of course, PABJ Gala, our 50th anniversary gala. We're ramping it up. Tickets are being sold. People are excited. You all know, Saturday, November 9th, Penn Museum. Get your tickets if you're interested in attending. The link should be in my bio. If you go to the link in the bio, you can be able to get the tickets. You can also get tickets at thepabj.org. So come celebrate. I'll be there. Get a selfie with me. Take a picture. A couple of you all, I saw bought tickets and hit me up and told me that you were coming out to support. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But keep spreading the word. And that's everything for me this week. Love you all. Thank you all so much for continuing to listen to the show and support. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.